Hello everybody in YouTube land and welcome to one of my favorite videos to record, which is when I, and chat, but mostly me, I call my ratings for how good each card is before I even get a chance to play them. And then, in a year, after playing with them, I'm gonna see how close I was. And chat will also get a chance to do their voting as well. So I'm voting, and also I'm ranking, and my chat is also gonna be ranking the cards as we go through them. My personal rating scale, 1 is like bad. bad, not good. This card is actively bad. I don't think there are a lot of cards in Arkham that are actively unplayable. There is a good chunk, like there's a chunk of them, but don't expect many, if any, ones coming from me today, because I do think the majority of the cards in here are at least playable or close to playable. 2 is when we start getting to the below average card. This card is fine in the majority of shells, but it can exceed in some others, or it needs a lot of work to get going to the next level. 3 is when we start getting to good cards. These cards, I think, are actively pretty good. Spoiler alert, I do think that most of the cards in Hemlock Vale are actually actively pretty good. I think it's going to be a pretty boring rating system, rating this time, because there are going to be like a lot of 3s. I'm just going to say that right now. 4 is when we start getting to a card that I think is actively, like, fantastic. A 3.5 I would consider to be, like, a very good to great card. And a 4 is when we're getting to a card that I'm like, hell yes, please put this in my body. 5 is for a card that I think is going to actively shape the future of the game, or is an investigator, because most investigators are going to get a 5 because they also actively shape the future of the game as well. Or a card that's just so good, and what it does is so powerful that, like, it can't be anything but a 5. So, why don't we dive in? Because this is going to be a long video. Get your drinks, get your snacks, get some popcorn. What about a 5.5? That does not exist, James. Sorry, the scale stops at 5. Wilson Richards. This is the handyman. So let me just get the poll going up in chat so you guys can do this with me. But Wilson Richards is our guardian investigator for this cycle. So Wilson Richards, 3 across the boards, but he also gets +1 skill value during skill tests on tools. We reduce the resource cost of the first tool asset we play each round by 1, and Elder's Sign effect is +0. You may swap a tool asset in your play area with a tool asset in your hand with an equal or lower printed cost. Wilson Richards' deck building is 30, tool cards 0 to 5, guardians 0 to 4, neutral cards 0 to 5, 5 other improvised or upgrade cards levels 0 to 1. I'll be honest, I haven't actually looked at what these guys can play that much because I'm not too interested in that kind of theory crafting really right now. Ad hoc, 2 cost, attached to a tool or weapon asset you control. After resolving an action ability on attached asset, exhaust ad hoc and discard a tool or weapon asset from your hand. Resolve an action ability on the discarded asset, ignoring all costs. Notably, this actually triggers the 3 Sledgehammer Slam, because you're ignoring all costs, not just its action cost. Hasty Repairs. Put Hasty Repairs into play in your threat area while triggering abilities on assets you control. Set your base skill value to 0. Double action. Discard Hasty Repairs. Alright. Yeah, I see Gurek Samples Game saying in chat that this feels like they finally nailed the all 3 stat investigator, and I generally agree with that sentiment. I think we're going to have to see, like, you know, it actually in action, because suddenly, you know, like, the all 3 curse might just, you know, rear its ugly head again. But I do think that Wilson Richards is really cool. I think his deck building is very inspired. Having tool card 0-5 be his niche is kind of just like a really awesome thing that this guy could be existing in, which I think is, like, you know, really fun. I wasn't actually that kind of worried that Keimani was going to steal the tool deck building because, to be honest, they're kind of like running out of deck building. Kind of like they're running out of deck building space for this guy, for investigators, I do think. Okay, so chat, you guys are giving him a 4.2, which I think is a really nice, good rating. I'm not gonna be the kind of guy who, like, you know, who gives, like, a waffle. I want to stick to it. So Wilson Richards is probably the investigator in the cycle that I am most excited to play. Do I think he is the best designed? I actually think Kohaku is probably the winner of this set in terms of their design. I really like Kohaku. It's a great question. He's the one I'm most interested in playing. I think he's like probably the one that's going to be kind of cool to play around with. I think he's going to have the most versatile deck building of all of the investigators in this cycle. I think there's going to be a lot of different ways that you can take Wilson Richards because his deck building is so completely wide open. Like the tools 0 to 5, there's a lot of stuff that you can do there. He seems like a fun goon. He seems like a fun clover. He seems like a really fun flex. I think Wilson Richards is obviously going to shine most as a flex, and like his stat line actually rewards you for that. I'm going to give Wilson Richards, I think I'm going to give him, honestly, I'm going to give him a 4.5. Yeah, I'm waffling between 4 and 4.5, but I'm going to say that this MFer is erring on the other side. That he's erring on the other side of stuff. Okay. He's erring on like the other side of good. All right, next up we have Ancestral Token. So if you're watching and wondering why like my brain kind of gets scattered, it's because I am starting polls, getting results in, while also talking about the cards themselves. All right. Ancestral Token. After defeat an enemy, exhaust Ancestral Token, add Blessed Tokens to the Chaos Bag. Use the enemy's printed health. This is a 3-cost item charmed Blessed asset that takes up the accessory slot. And honestly, just for fun and shits and giggles, it also soaks for 2 horror, which is kind of... Oh, you guys actually gave him a 3.9. My number was wrong. You guys gave Wilson Richards a 3.9. All right, so Ancestral Token, I think, is a very powerful Arkham Horror the card game card. It doesn't require a lot to be good. However, with all that said, I do think we need to note the resource cost on this card. Guardians has a lot of expensive cards that they want to play, right? Like a Guardian Goon is going to want to get out a weapon, an ally, an Ancestral Token, and now they're looking at getting like all these resources, and they're going to need to get the economy to match it. You guys are giving it a 4.1, which I think is honestly pretty reasonable. I think the card's very powerful. I also don't think you necessarily need to be in a Blessed deck to make this card really work. You don't need to like be going... Actually, I need that still open. You don't need to be in a Blessed deck to really make this card actually super shine. It can be one of those things that you can just like passively... get Blessed tokens and just increase your odds of passing. I don't think it's like the best thing. I think there's... Is there a better accessory slot? That's like the question, right? That's the question of the day. Like, what other accessory slots are there? There is Riot Whistle, which is not bad. It's not a bad card. There's Cleaning Kit, which we're going to be talking about, which is really good. Zoe's Cross is going to trump Ancestral Token. And unless you're playing Blesses, I don't think Ancestral Token is worth a Relic Hunter, right? Hallowed Mirror. Yeah, Hallowed Mirror. Like, it's a competitive slot, right? Like, the accessory slot is very competitive. So while, yes, I think you can play this card in a deck that's not taking advantage of Blessed tokens, I think, honestly, your accessory slot might actually be better in other places if you're not doing Blesses. If you are doing Blesses, take this card all the time. It's going to last you from Scenario 1 to Scenario 8. I think because of all this, also I'm going to just say right now, as a little heads up, I am not rating these cards as like the best case scenario, because realistically, it's going to be great when we get to like the Mouse Mask in Seeker, because like Mouse Mask in Seeker is really good in Luke Robinson, but I'm not looking at just Luke Robinson, right? I'm looking at every Seeker who wants to take it. And I'm kind of looking at the same kind of approach with Ancestral Token. I think I'm going to give this one... I think it's a very good card, and very good is a 3.5 for me. I'm going to give this card a 3.5. I think the card's good. I think the card's really good. All right. Next up, we got Cleaning Kit, which is probably one of the cards I'm kind of like most excited about. All right. Cleaning Kit. 3 cost, item tool asset that takes up the accessory slot, uses 3 supplies. Supplies on Cleaning Kit may be spent as if they were supplies or ammo on assets you control. It's a good card. This is a very good card, I think. It's... What do we have right now, specifically in Guardian, to give us more ammo? We have 1 in the chamber, we have extra ammunition, and we also have Venturer, right? Are those like the things that give ammo in Guardian? Because I can't think of anything else off the top of my head. Oh, the bullets. You know, like the thing that whatever it is, that ammunition that like you turns it holy and deals more damage to monsters. I don't know the name because I don't play guns. This is like a really good thing of that we're gonna be able to take advantage of in a lot of Guardian decks and do really well with. Okay, so before I get deeper, let's get your guys' ratings in. Dang, there's a lot of people rating today. Holy cow. All right, you guys are giving it a 3.6, which I think is really fair because I'm kind of hovering in the same area, TBH. I think this card effect is very nice. But you also don't have to use it just on guns, right? On anything that has supplies, this card, like, does the thing that you want to be doing. Which is kind of, like, really sick. Also, yeah, I do want to use this with Ornate Bow. I think that can be a really fun time, right? Like, your Cleaning Kit is just filled with a bunch of arrows for your Ornate Bow. That seems really fun. Becky as well, yeah, and Tommy. That seems really fun. More flashlights? You mean you joke, but like more flashlights can be a really good tool to, especially a survivor that can run this card. Like I think Wilson Richards is obviously going to love the hell out of this card, right? Shotgun? Yeah, shotgun for sure, especially once we get to the upgraded version, which we're not doing in this video. This is just level 0 and investigators. I think I'm going to give this card... E-Cash can put supplies on it and turn it into ammo. Super Fang, that's pretty sick. I think I'm going to give this card a 3.5 as well. I think this and Ancestral Token are pretty comparable to me. I think they're pretty comparable. Old Down the Rabbit Hole compatible. Honestly, what isn't these fucking days? This is actually Travis and I's new beef. Is Down the Rabbit Hole. Card's too strong. Card pool is going to make it too good. Eventually, it's going to be like actually factually incorrect to not take in the thick of it to grab Versatile to take down the rabbit hole if you can. One day, if this keeps going like this, it's not going to be good. It's not going to be good. All right, chat. Are you guys ready for the next one? Because I am. It's Katana. Wow. We like swords here. We like swords. So I think this is our first one where I'm not actively like, this card's good, you know? So 4 cost, 2 hand slots, item, weapon, melee. Takes up the hand slot, is an action fight. You get +2 fist for this test. If you succeed by exactly 2, you may exhaust Katana to deal +2 damage for this attack. Lightning Bolt, exhaust Katana, fight, use foot instead of fist for this attack. Yeah. So I think this card is the first one we can look at as it's like not really gonna be that great, right? Because it takes up 2 hand slots. It only deals damage if it's like basically the Winchester, right? Whatever that gun was that it's gonna be one of the. It's like that gun that just like you need to draw like the right token to have it actually happen. All right, man, I really underestimated how many people would be here today. I'm going to have to press 2 so much to get this in here. All right, and then we got 5 threes from chat. We got 2 5s, and we got a 4. So you guys are giving it a 2.6. Wild. 2.6. I definitely don't think I'm going to give it a 2.5. I think I'm leaning towards a 2. But let's just talk about Katana a bit. So I will say this is what I think melee weapons should have been from the get-go, right? Less efficient than guns. Their damage output was a bit more impractical, right? They're inconsistent. They're not like practical to use. You have to like actually like work them in different ways. And you have to like kind of sometimes get lucky to really do the extra damage. I think there needs to be a trade-off for extra damage in a melee weapon compared to a firearm, which in my opinion should have always just had extra damage. So while I don't think Katana is a good card, I'm glad that they didn't, actually just make this card like really good, I will say, though, I do like the free action. I think the free action is actually pretty sick. I wish that instead of exhausting it, it was just like limit once per round, because you can still then use the +2 damage part of it. The double exhaust really kind of puts... it kind of like puts a little bit of a stinky note on it. However, with all that said, I'm definitely going to play Katana at least once. I do think that it has a home in like a janky deck for people who like to do janky things. So I think overall the card in itself is going to be played. I don't think it's pure binder fodder. I think that there are people who are going to be able to play it and actually play it relatively successfully. Yeah. I think it would be fun to try on Lily too, to be honest. I think it'd be fun to try on Lily as well. I'm going to give it a 2 though. I don't think the card is particularly great. Rest in peace, Katana. As James says, Mortal Kombat announcer. All right. Next up here is we got Ofuda. This one's very interesting. This is a 2-cost asset that does not take up a slot. Yay, we love slotless assets. Item Charm Blessed uses 1 charge. Replenish this charge the first time a Blessed token is revealed at your location each round. Lightning Bolt, choose a non-elite enemy or location and spend 1 charge. That enemy loses Alert, Aloof, Elusive, and Retaliate keywords until the end of the round. I wish this card had 2 charges. I wish this card had 2 charges on it. Because I think that it would be more blindly playable if it had 2 charges, right? Is it good enough at being a 1-use Riot Whistle that you might recharge? I don't think so. I mean, it doesn't take up the accessory slot, but it takes up a card. It takes up a card in your deck, and cards in your deck are important. Like it is like a card in your deck is something that you can't escape from. It's like it's worth the value. You guys are giving it a 2.5. Honestly, I'm actually right there with you. I'm giving this card a 2.5. And I'm going to just sit it out and explain it all here. But this card is definitely a 2.5 to me. It's a tech card. You can bring it into certain campaigns. If Elusive turns out to be... something that is actually like a bother, this is going to go up in value, right? Like, I could see Kohaku wanting to run this for dealing with his weakness. Just to be like, no, you do not get to do this. I think you need to be in Bless to play it. I don't think that this is something that it's not like the Ancestral Token where you can just play this card, right? I do think you need to actually be in Blessed to take advantage of this, because it's just one of those things where getting one, like, let's just talk about like the most common thing we're gonna probably see, a free evade on Aloof. That's not worth it for just one, you know? Card should have been fast. Yeah, I could see fast would have been good. I mean, I think if it came with 2 charges, it'd be a lot more interesting. I don't think baseline 2 for 1 charge is good enough to really move the needle for me personally. But I could be wrong. Like, this card, I think it's a tech card, and I think 2.5 is a great rating for a tech card, right? Alright. Wolf Mask. I'm gonna rock the boat a little bit on these wolf masks, on the whole mask cycle, okay? I'm gonna rock the boat a little bit here, because I think that these cards are very good, but I don't think the people who are saying they need to be tabooed are honestly, to me, crazy. I don't get that. I don't get that. So Wolf Mask. Let's read what the actual card does. So, one cost for the mask, item charm mask, limit 1 mask per investigator, uses 2 offerings, replenish one of these offerings after you engage an enemy. As lightning bolt, spend 1 offering, you get +2 fist and or +2 foot for this skill test, limit once per test. Burn style hot take ranking? No, I don't think so. I'm not going to go that. I mean, I think Wolf Mask is the best mask, so Let's talk about the masks. All right, let's take some time. I'm going to get the rating in. I'm going to get your guys' rating in, and then I'm going to go from there. Because I think that the majority of the masks... Sorry, I got to get your guys' insane amount of 5s in here. All right, you guys are giving it a 4.6. Okay, let's talk about the masks, right? So, what do you want from the masks? You want, let's just say, Overpower or Manual decks. You want unexpected courages from your masks, right? How many unexpected courages do you need to make this card worth it? The threshold of it is realistically, like, very low, right? You only need, realistically, about 3 uses, I think. I think 2's too few. 2 is too few, because you're not talking... If you're doing 2, you've basically just, like, you haven't actually gained anything, right? Because it costs a resource, it costs an action, it costs a card. That's about, we would say, 2 actions. So getting 2 uses out of this isn't good enough, right? 2 uses, you're actually wasting the card in your deck. So you need to ask yourself, can I constantly refresh this mask to make a good use out of it? I would also even say 3 is not good enough, right? I think 3 is passable where you're not upset, but I think 3 uses of the mask is not enough value out of it to be worth a card in your deck, because realistically, there are a lot of really good cards in Arkham Horror the card game, right? When I'm activating this 4 times, then we're starting to, like, for me, make a card actually worth the slot for it, right? So this is kind of like where I'm looking at the masks. On top of that, next, we're going to look at the stats, right? We want, optimally, an offensive and a defensive stat, right? If we have an offensive and a defensive stat going on this on a mask, it's going to go up in value. So we're looking for stats that are relevant, both offensively and defensively, and stats that are easy to refill because the replenish is going to be there. Because that's kind of like what makes the masks. Because, like, really they're asking for very little. 1 resource, 1 action, and no slot. D. Gore, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome to the goddamn table. It's a pleasure to have you. I think that Wolf Mask is the best mask. I do think that Wolf Mask is the best mask we have here. But we're going to go into the next level, okay? We're going to take one more step forward and really dig into these masks. Because these masks don't actually, they don't help you win, they help you not lose, right? It's like one of those things that's like the problem with like unexpected courage, right? It helps you like pass a test, but it doesn't help you like increase your damage. It doesn't help you increase your clue getting potential. So that's why I personally can't give Wolf Mask a 5, right? It's like when I was looking at my 5s in previous ratings, it was stuff like Shed a Light. It was stuff like Old Keyring that just like absolutely broke shit open. Old Keyring 3 rather. That absolutely broke shit open in a way that like is just like so much tempo out of a card. And while I think these cards are very good, I actually don't think they're actually actively increasing your tempo. And until you get, in my opinion, 4 uses out of it, you're actually like kind of negative tempo out of the card. Which is, it's weird to say because it's not like actually true, right? Like it's going to help you pass tests, which is going to deal more damage, but then you have to like put extra cards into the equation, right? So like this is where I'm coming in from all of the masks. I think they're very easy to include in a lot of decks, but what it does need is you need to be always looking at refilling them. However, the Guardian one is really good at refilling stuff. So I agree. I think the Guardian one is absolutely fantastic, and I'm going to be giving this one a 4.5. But all my talking here, I agree with you guys. This one is the best mask. All my talking here is leading to a lot lower ratings for the following masks. Because I think Wolf Mask is the only one that I would put in every one of my decks. And the other ones I would need to be asking some questions to myself and my soul. Okay. That is great. Let's move on to our next card here, which is Absolution. Alright, Absolution's like, I'm here too! X cost event, double guts, double brain, so it commits for a guts. Spell Blessed, reveal 3 random tokens from the Chaos Bag along with X additional tokens. For each non-symbol token revealed, add 1 Blessed token to the Chaos Bag. For each Blessed token revealed, heal 1 horror from an investigator or ally asset at your location. X gonna give it to you, Absolution. That's funny, James. I don't think this card's that great. I think it has its uses, but I'm probably realistically gonna give this card a 2. I don't have much to say, to be honest. I do like the design of it, how it changes when it's good and when it's bad. But I am going to give this card a 2 because that just feels the most right for me. It doesn't really do anything, you know? I don't think it actually like does anything noteworthy to make you want to include it that much. I think there's better healing, and I think at this point now there's also realistically better Blessed generation, right? More consistent Blessed generation, rather. All right. Ooh, we got a bunch of 1s in here. And 1-5. All right, you guys gave it a 2.1. We're actually been pretty similar so far with all of our ratings. You love to see it, chat. With our powers combined, we are unstoppable. Yeah, I also agree 1s are smoking some dank kush, but you know, people, it's their rating system. I don't think it's a 1. I think the card is at least like playable. It'll do something. Okay, next up, we got Guided by Faith. I do think Guardians are the loser of the set overall, though. I think so. All right, at least at level 0, it seems like they don't have a lot of really cool stuff. A 2-cost event, Guided by Faith, Spirit Blessed, Investigate. You may use Brain instead of Book for this investigation. Before revealing Chaos tokens for this test, add 2 Blessed tokens to the Chaos Bag. If a Bless or Elder Sign token is revealed during the skill test, discover 1 additional clue at your location. I think this card's fine. I like that it's active Bless generation. You know, I think that's kind of super important. That you want to be able to be advancing the game while also getting some Blessed tokens in the game in the bag. I would have loved it if this card was like the Ancestral Token, but it was every time you investigated a location, after the last clue's removed from location by an investigate action you took, add Blessed tokens equal to the Shroud. Now we're talking. Now we're talking. I think that this is completely fine though. I don't think you're, however, sorry, with that said, I don't think you're playing this card with the intention of getting your, the extra clue off of it. And that might sound like, then why am I playing the card? And it's like, yeah, you might get the extra clue, but you also just like might not. And you just have to kind of accept that. And instead you need to look at this card as just Blessed Generation that is also giving you a clue, right? Chat, you guys gave it a 2.9. I gave this MFer a 2.5. All right. We are on to Hold Up. Hey, Tony H, thank you so much for your Twitch Prime subscription. Welcome to the Golden Table. It's a pleasure to have you. If you're watching and you haven't used your Twitch Prime on someone, consider throwing it at us. We would love to have it this month. All right, Hold Up. 1 cost event. Tactic Trick. Oh, here, let me get it on my big screen. 1 cost event, Tactic Trick, Parlay. Choose an enemy at your location and an item asset in your hand. Perform a fight action against the chosen enemy. If you succeed, instead of dealing damage, play the chosen asset, reducing its cost by each point you succeeded by. Okay. I need to crunch. The art's truly atrocious. I mean, I think the art's just weird. I think the problem is just that the pose just feels a bit too rigid, right? Like, to me, it's just like, I don't feel it's very dynamic. And it feels very, like, it feels posed. So I think that's just kind of, like, for me, I think, like, all the actual, like, mechanical side of the art is good. I think it's just the pose is rigid, which makes it feel a little bit awkward. So choose an enemy or location, and then, okay, let me just get some. Let me get your guys' in, because I actually don't even, like, to be honest, know what this card does. I don't even know what this card does. You guys are giving it a 1.7. All right, so I'm gonna. This card better be unplayable, chat, or I'm not going to respect your guys' ratings anymore. So let's see if this card is actually unplayable. Parlay. Choose an enemy location and item as in your hand. Perform a fight action against the chosen enemy. If you succeed, instead of dealing damage, play the chosen asset, reducing its cost by 1 by each point you succeeded by. Chosen enemy, if you succeed, instead of dealing damage. That sucks. The instead of dealing damage. Yeah, it's any action. It's, I mean, like, it not dealing the damage kind of sucks. Like, we look at the, I'll take that, the rogue card, which is when you successfully evade or investigate. You still get to do the thing. I think this should have also dealt the damage. Right? I think that's the only downside of the card, though, right? That you don't get to deal the damage. You should have been able to deal the damage, man. You should have been able to deal the damage. I don't know why you don't, right? This card should have definitely not stopped the damage, right? Cost 1 money. I mean, that's okay, because in theory, you're saving the action. You're not saving the action to play. You're saving, like, the action and the resource economy. I don't think the 1 is that bad, to be honest. Because one is practically free. You guys ready? Do you guys remember that lesson? 1 resource is actually 0 resources. That weird ARKHAM lesson that I try to teach now and again. To me, I just think the problem with this card is that it stops the damage. I don't know why it does that. It probably shouldn't. I'm going to give this card a 2, though. I think there's homes for it, and I think, like, the effect is fine. It's just that damage really sucks, you know? That the no damage really kind of puts a little stinky poo-poo on that card. All right, Task Force. Ah, this is one of the new ones that I haven't actually sat with for a while. Okay, Task Force. Dude, we're 30 minutes in the video and we're not even through Guardian. This is going to be a long frickin' video. All right, 2-cost event, tactic double. This cost play Task Force, spend an action one at a time in any order. Choose an investigate location 2. Resolve an action ability on an asset they control without paying its cost. Move to a connected location, discover a clue with their location. I think this card's alright. I think it's alright. When does Hemlock Vale come out? Whenever it does. I don't know. I don't keep up with that shit. It comes when I get it delivered in the mail. that's how if it hasn't come that day, it hasn't come out yet. I mean, I don't think this card's terrible, right? Shit. Like, you get to have someone resolve an action ability. I mean, you get 3 actions out of the card. So the card is essentially double action, 2 resources paying for itself. Yeah, right? I think I'm going to give this card a 3. I think I'm going to give it a 3. I don't think it's, like, going to bust anything wide open. But I do think this card is legit. Okay. You guys giving it a 3.6. Very nice. I'm going to give it a 3, though. I think the card's good. I think it's a good card. I don't really have much to say. I don't think there's, like, much to theory craft around it either. It's just, like, it's just good. It's just a fine card. It just does the job. All right, Tinker, Tailor, Soldier, Spy. I love the trailer for that movie, and then the movie itself was kind of just dookie. 1-cost event, Insight upgrade, fast, play only during your turn, attach Tinker to a tool asset in your play area, limit 1 per asset, attached asset takes up 1 fewer hand or accessory slot. Yeah, it's fine, right? It's a good card. It's going to live in the decks that want to live it. Having the ability to remove slots is really nice. Yeah, I'm going to just give this a 3. I don't have much to say. Reducing slots is always, like, welcome. So I'm just going to give this card a 3. I don't think it's going to, like, bust anything wide open. It's just a nice, hey, get out of here. No one wants to look at you again. Hold up. What are you doing? It's not your time anymore. Yeah, great in Joe Diamond. I mean, honestly, great for anyone who wants to be using a lot of tools. Because I think that the tool belt is just a little bit slow. You play your assets to have your assets in play, and I think that Tinker is really good at that kind of stuff. Obviously. All right, chat, let's see what you guys are giving this. You guys are giving it a 3.8. All right, I gave it a 3. You guys gave it a 3.8. I don't disagree. I don't disagree. All right, we have one more Guardian card to talk about, and that card is none other than Purified. What does this card do again? Purified, innate blessed, max 1 committed per skill test. You may commit Purified to any type of test. If this test is successful, for each point you succeeded by to a maximum of 5, add 1 blessed token or remove 1 curse token from the chaos bag. I understand, like, you know, the idea is that you use this to, like, put your value really high and then put a bunch of blessed tokens in the bag. The problem is, though, the problem is that a lot of times the stuff that I've seen theory crafted about Purified, it's like, I'm gonna put on my enchant weapon on, like, my shotgun, and I'm gonna put, like, 6 things in the bag. Ancestral Token just outpaces this, you know? I think it just, I don't know. Like, maybe it's good. Maybe it's good. I think I'm going to give this one... Let's see what chat gives it. That's not going to skew my rating, but it allows me to at least get this out of here. You guys giving it a 2.5. Okay, well, this is going to look really sus, because I was also thinking of giving it a 2.5. I just don't, honestly, like... I think that at this point now, there is better ways to get blesses in, And I don't think removing curse tokens is worth a card in your deck. I'm going to give it a 2.5 as well. Chat, you and I are on the exact same page for this one. Kahaku loves it. It's good at fixing your ratio. Maybe. That is true. That is true. Kahaku could definitely get some juice out of that. That might be a juice worth some squeezing. But I don't know. All right. Kate Winthrop. Give you guys 2 minutes for this one. Because it's going to take me 2 minutes to read all these damn cards. 2/4/2/4 for stat line. You begin the game with the Flux Stabilizer inactive side face up. After your clue is placed on Flux Stabilizer, search your bonded cards or discard pile for one copy of Etheric Current and shuffle it into your deck. Flip the Flux Stabilizer. It shuffles into your deck, huh? Okay. Move a clue as a lightning bolt from Kate Winthrop to a science tool class you control with no clues on it. That's a lightning bolt. And when an asset you control with a clue on it leaves play, place its clue on your location. Elder Sign effect is +0. You may move one clue from an asset you control back to Kate Winthrop. Flux Stabilizer, when you place a clue on an asset you control, get +2 skill value for the next skill test this phase. Seeker cards. Her deck building is Seeker 05, Science 04, Insight 01. I still wish she was a Rogue Gator. I do. I do wish she was our Seeker Rogue. I honestly, her deck building is... I think actually Kate's going to be pretty similar to Ursula, I think. I think she's going to be pretty similar to Ursula in terms of power level, to be honest. All right, let's look at the Etheric Currents. Play only if it's on an active side for each of them. They both cost 0. Move all clues on an asset you control to Kate Winthrop. For this attack, you may use Book instead of Fist. If you succeed and the attacked enemy is non-elite, you may exhaust it and move it to any location. Draw one card. They're strong cards. Move all clues on assets you control to Kate Winthrop. For this evasion attempt, you may use Book instead of Foot. If you succeed and the target of this evasion is non-elite, shuffle in the counter deck and draw a card. And then her signature weakness is Failed Experiment. It's a blunder. Test Brain 3. This test gets +1 difficulty for each asset you control with a clue on it. For each point you fail by, you must either take a horror or place one of your clues on your location. I love her weakness. I think her weakness is really sick. I'm going to give her a 4, I think. I think I'm going to give this lady a 4. That's what my Heart of Hearts is telling me. And I'm going to listen to my Heart of Hearts. Why do I think she's just a 4? Because honestly, I just get like big Ursula vibes. Right? I think Ursula is really good. But the thing is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think Ursula is kind of like let down a bit by her card pool. And honestly, I get similar... You guys gave her a 3.7. Okay. Now we're cooking, chat. I mean, I think she's still an investigator. It's hard for me to go lower for an investigator. But yeah, it's one of those things where I feel like she's going to have a lot of pieces to get together. And I think she's going to be kind of clunky as well. And she's basically just Mono Seeker. She has like a few things, especially in the insights, but she's basically just another Mono Seeker investigator with an ability that I don't think is exciting enough to be so close to monocolor. She plays so much less clunky than she reads. Yeah, but like, well, I don't mean clunky in terms of like comprehension. I mean clunky in terms of like, here's my asset. I put clue on asset. I put asset. Here I put clue on asset, right? Like it's a very kind of like clunky sort of gameplay sort of thing. I think she's easy to grok, but her gameplay just seems like heavy and very monotone, you know? Do we see any off-class science cards in the full leaks? There's the one survivor one that I think survival technique, right? All right. I gotta get moving. We got a lot of cards to talk about. We got a lot of cards to talk about today. We're only on Seeker and we're 45 minutes into this video. That is not a good sign. Okay, chemistry set. 2-cost asset. Exhaust it. Takes up the accessory slot, by the way. Exhaust chemistry set. Investigate. If you fail by exactly 2, discard chemistry set. Succeed by exactly 0, gain 2 resources. Succeed by exactly 2, draw 1 card. Succeed by exactly 4, discover 1 additional clue at your location. I think this card is going to make you do a lot of math, and that makes me angry. I don't like doing math when I'm playing this game. It's going to make you like, all right, I have to actually think about it, not just like, oh, I drew the pluses, I drew the 0, we're good, we're goated, you know? It's super low cost, right? It's going to get stuff done, but it's not very reliable. But I don't think the card's bad. I think I'm going to give it a 2.5. I think that's where we're going to live for this one. I think the card's fine, though. I'm going to give it a 2.5. All right. Chat, you guys are giving it a 3. Just a nice, simple 3.0. You'd love to see it. Okay. Let's keep the show moving. All right. Dr. Charles West III. This guy is interesting to me. I think he's very interesting. I don't know if he's good, though. 3-cost asset, soaks for 1 and 2, takes the accessory, the ally slot, sorry. You have 1 additional hand slot, which can only be used to hold a tool asset. As a reaction, after you successfully investigate by exactly 1 or 3, exhaust Dr. Charles West and deal 1 damage to an enemy or location. It does work notably well with the chemistry set, which means if you use the chemistry set, you hit on like any succeed by pretty much, right? I like him in like if you're going to be playing a lot of tool assets. His hand slot is really good. But he's competing with some very powerful allies that are, you know, kind of just making his day a lot worse and kind of making him seem a lot worse, right? I'm also sad that Wilson can't take him. I think that like one of those things that would be it would be better with if Wilson could. I think that would actually be a nice little home for it. I don't think the card's bad. I'm gonna give him a 2.5 again though. I think he has homes, and I think he will make those homes shine. But I think that you kind of have to be like trying something new. That's my nice way of saying playing jank to make him work. You guys also give him a 2.5. All right, let's go. You love to see it. Okay, Microscope. What if Kukri got clues? And honestly, if Kukri got clues, it would be really good. Microscope, 2 cost. Item tool science takes up the hand slot. After an enemy at your location is successfully evaded or defeated, exhaust Microscope and place 1 resource on Microscope as evidence. Double action, investigate. You get +1 book for this investigation for each evidence on Microscope. Max +3. If you succeed, you may spend up to 2 evidence to discover that many additional clues at your location. So the gameplay loop on this is pretty simple. You get 2 clues on this, and then you use them to get 3 clues, right? You get the positive action out of it. I think this card is actually good. I don't see how this card can be bad, you know? It's just like clues, right? I think I'm gonna actually go out on a little bit of a limb here, and I think I'm actually gonna give this card a 3.5. I think this card is actually really good. Not too much of a limb. You guys are also rating it really high. Why am I even here? Why am I even here? I have no more hot takes. Hey, we each gave it a 3.5. Actually, just kidding, chat. You and I are like the same person this year. Wow, look at that. Look at that. All right. Next up, we got Mouse Mask. All right, copy-paste what I said previously about masks. I'm going to just, like, I'm not going to say all that stuff again. I will read the card for you, though. Sorry for people listening on audio. 1 cost, it has the mask, replenishes when after you reveal a new location or put a new location to play. Spend an offering, you get +2 brain and +2 book for the skill test. I'm going to give this card a 3. I think the card's still good. No mask can get below a 3, but I think you honestly gotta really be either playing a Witten green deck or Luke Robinson to really make Mouse Mask worth it. Because the reality is that Seekers just have better ways to do these things without having to, like, you know, do it. Right? Like, it's just like, I don't know. I'm not super into this one. I'm not super into this one. And thankfully, actually, you know? Thankfully, it's the Seeker one wasn't just crazy powerful. I think there's, like, cases where it becomes a lot better, right? Where it becomes a lot better, I think. Like, obviously, Luke. I think Ursula's a nice user of it as well. But I think it's one of the masks that I'm kind of just, like, kind of okay with. Chat, you guys gave it a 3.3. Busted solo card. I've been theory crafting solo, and I don't know if I'd want to play this in solo. The action to play this card I don't think is worth it. Hey, Midnight Mask, no spoilers in chat, please. Don't make me time you out. We do not talk about anything that has not been officially released because you've been reading the spoiler of the campaign guide. So, cut that out. So you have to investigate and reveal all locations? Yeah, you do. But you're a Seeker. You can just play Magnifying Glass and get more juice out of it, right? Alright, we're going to go on to Ravenous Mikeit. So this is the level 0 version, so there's not too much... not too much to go on here. This is the untranslated version. 2 cost. Soaks for 1 and 1, which is actually kind of not bad. Limit 1 per deck. Creature, monster, flora, science. As an action, search your bonded cards, find any growth, and add it to your hand. As an action, if Ravenous Mikeit has 3 or more growth on it, move each growth to your resource pool as resources. Record in your campaign log that you've classified a new species. So we're not going to get to, like, the exciting part of this guy until the next episode. Investigate as an action for uncanny growth. After this test resolves, place 1 resource on Ravenous Mikeit as a growth for each one you succeed by. Set uncanny growth aside out of play. If you fail, return uncanny growth to your hand. I agree. I like the flavor as well. I think the flavor on this card is really fun. And then when it grows up and eats you, the flavor of you is really fun as well. Honestly, there's not much I'm going to talk about this card. It doesn't get interesting until we get to the higher level versions. I'm just going to give this a 2.5 because, like, it has a purpose, and that purpose is to eventually be turned into something new. I think I do this for all the upgrade cards. Like, the level 0 version is kind of just there, and you're like, okay. But we have to rate it. Those are the rules. Chat's giving it a 2.8. Okay. Next card we got here is Control Variable. Let me just get the poll up, and let me just go like this and start the poll. All right. Control Variable. This is working a hunch but clues. 1 cost event, fast play after an investigator reveals a curse token during a skill test at your location. Discover 1 clue at your location. Card's fine, right? Card's good in a curse deck. If you're playing a curse deck, you'll probably just put this in here, right? Turns the downside of a curse, which is negligible, into an upside as well, right? I think it's totally fine. I don't know if it's worth a 3. Like, I'm hovering. If I could give it like a 2.75, I would, right? It's almost better if you aren't the main curse user. Yeah, if someone else is playing curses, it's also... I mean, someone in your group needs to be playing curses, right? Like, someone needs to be playing curse tokens for you to play this card, right? Holy shit, what are you guys seeing that I'm not? Just gave this a 3.5, but that was a lot of 4s. Okay, I need to look at this card more, because I want to give it a 2.5, because I think the card's just fine. I mean, I think fast clues are getting close to hitting a tipping point. And this is scary. I don't think so. Remember that 1 equals 0? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, well, I mean, that's true. It's practically free. Play 2 at the same time, I guess. But, like, the thing is, it costs a card, right? Like, it's a card for a clue, which is, like, a fine rate, all in of itself. But, I mean, like, I'm not playing Working a Hunch unless I get it for free, right? That's deduction. That is deduction. But deduction doesn't have any, like, you need to play curses to get there, right? And once again, like, I'm looking at this card just generally as the power level of the card. Of where I look at it. It's a curse deck. Someone gets cursed, like, I replace it with a thing. Those symbols help if no one is playing curses. If no one is playing curses, this card should not be in your fucking deck. if you're not playing curses, I'm giving this a 2.5. I think the card's fine though. I think it's fine. It's close to good. If I could give it a 2.75, I would. Oh my god, I'm in the ether! Help me! Help me! Hey, we're back. We're back. We're good. We got out of this okay. Yeah, this does really smell like a 31st card in a lot of decks. I think the card's fine, though. I think it's fine. In curse decks, this probably plays more like a 3 to a 3.5. But I think there's going to be times, too, where you're kind of just sitting on this. Because, like, yeah, it's like one of those things where, like you get Favor of the Moon and you do this stuff, but I think there's just better things to do with, your Favor of the Moon, right? Imagine if it played after a curse or autofail reveal. That would be nice. If this could also work, like, if it was like a Token of Faith type of thing, that could be fun. That could be fun. Yeah, I'm going to give this card a 2.5. I don't think the card's bad by any means, but I don't think the card, like, is particularly good or great. Like, maybe 2.5 is a bit low, and a 3 is closer, but like I said, it's kind of hovering between, like, it's hovering in between. This is like a 2.75 for me, but I can't do that, so I'm going to give it a 2.5. And why can't I do that? I just made rules back in the day, and I need to follow them. All right, we are on Testing Sprint. 1 cost event. Ditch cosplay testing, sprint, spend an action, investigate. 1 at a time. Investigate a location, each connecting location once each in ascending order of shroud until you either fail to investigate or successfully investigate each eligible location. I love this card. I think this card's really fun. Is it good? Probably. It's probably good, right? It's going to have a lot of times where you're going to just auto-fail the first one. Can you just, it's gonna happen like so many times. That would be so fucking funny. You're just like, all right, I'm gonna auto fail my first one and everything is bad. How many clues does this need to be worth it? I would want to get, honestly, if it gets, okay, that's the thing, right? Let's do that. Let me get your guys' numbers, and then we'll actually see when this card is actually, like, worth it. Let's give it a 3.7. Okay. I don't know what I'm going to give this card yet. Obviously 0 or 1 is bad, right? You're gonna want 2 is like, okay, I'm balancing out, like, I saved a move action and I got a clue. I got 2 clues, so, like, I'm fine with it, but I'm not happy, right? Because, like, I don't think you are going to want to, like, I don't think you include cards, like, maybe I'm wrong. You guys can let me know if I'm wrong. But I generally don't like to include cards that lead me to thinking, like, oh, it was fine. You know, I want all my cards to be good to great, you know? I think you want baseline 3. If you don't get 3, it was kind of a waste of time, right? Is this good for True Solo, where you can clear 1 per clue locations with it? I mean, potentially. It's like a little bit of a thing where your setup time is moving around. But, like, if you get 4, this is kind of sick. Can you guys imagine this with Untabooed Dr. Milan? Ooh. Ooh, that sounds fun, doesn't it? Ooh, makes me all happy. It gives me the little shakes. I'm like, ooh, I love it. I love it. I think the reality is, though, can I be honest? I think that you're gonna, like, no, I've had a seizure, so I know the difference. I've had seizures. I know the difference. I think the reality with this card, though, is that most of the time you're gonna already have done your job, right? You're gonna already have, like, done the job. All the clues are gonna be gone, and then you're gonna look at your testing sprint and being like, why am I here? I think that's the reality of the card, right? I think I'm gonna give this card a 3, though, because I think the card is good. I'm gonna give it a 3. But I think the reality is that the card's gonna do less than you think. All right, thorough inquiry. My inquiry is thorough. What does this card freaking do? Oh yeah, this is the one that has the wild symbol for no reason. Just because Seekers are good. Just because Seekers are good. 2-cost event, insight double, additional cost to play thorough inquiry, spend an action. Investigator's location, draw a combined total of 5 cards. You decide how many cards each investigator draws. Why does this one get the wild? Shame on you, designers. I'm going to give this a 3, I think. I think I'm going to give this a 3. Yeah, I think I'm just going to give this a 3. Is that Withers? Who? Every class gets 1 double with wilds. Do they? Is it just because one of the Seeker ones are both at level 0? That's why it seems so suspect? Someone has my Baldur's Gate 3? That's because I'm not a fucking nerd. No, I have other games to play. Alright, you guys give it a 3.6. I think that's fair, too. I could be underrating this card. I mean, the card draw is good. I like these things, you know? Like, wrong place and right time is a while, too. Oh, look at me. I don't know anything about anything. Alright, I'm less mad. I'll take my finger wag away. Honestly, this and both Bank Job, I think, fill nice holes in deck building. I think kind of the one big problem with this card, though, or some of the other doubles, is that Seeker's actions are just like a bit more valuable. So like in Carson, I think this is really good. I kind of like the idea of it in Harvey too, but like it's just hard for me to like spend 2 actions when I could just win the game, you know? It's also only plus 4 cards. But I mean, that's still pretty fine, right? That's still pretty fine. Because you also get to divvy them out, so like that's kind of in and of itself worth a card on its own. If Tony has downturns, you can draw 5. Oh, astute. That sounds fun, doesn't it? Okay, now we're talking. Trey, 7 months of the Golden Table. Thank you for your support. Yeah, I think I gave it a 3. I gave it a 3. I think the card's good. I am very intrigued to try this card on Tony, though. That seems like a lot of fun. Oh no, I've just been scarred from Refine to trust double action cards again. Yeah, well, Refine's bad, and this is playable. let me help you with that, because Refine is actually just not a playable card. Okay. Throw the book at them. One cost event. Fight. Choose a tome master you control. You get +X for this attack. Where X is that asset's printed cost. If you succeed, you may either automatically evade the attacked enemy, or after the attack ends, you may choose. So you may resolve an action or lightning bolt ability on the chosen asset, ignoring its action cost, if any. One cost event. I think it's fine, right? I think it's. I'm gonna give it like probably a 2.5. Most Seekers don't have good combat, so how high is your combat going to get with this? So, I think that this is... I think that this is something that is not used to fight. It's used to, like, as a panic button for you to be able to kill things like you draw a rat in scenario 0, and then you go, oh, don't worry, I'll kill my rat. And then you're like, oh, and I'll also Grim Memoir, right? I'll also get a clue, right? I think it's like one of those things. Oh no, those are 1s, not 5s. That was a close call there. Chat, you're giving it a 2. Oh, I went back in time. Sorry, went back in time. No, you only ignore its action cost. So you don't do the lightning bolts. You don't ignore like any pain secrets and stuff. Someone pointed out resolving the free trigger after the test is odd since you can already doing. Yeah, I know. I understand. Okay, so here's the real reason why it's there. It's because what if you have a tome that only has a lightning bolt ability on it, right? So you can do that lightning ability again, potentially, right? Unless it required it to be exhausted, you know? It does give big hold-up vibes. What did I give hold-up? Did I give hold-up a 2? Because it reminds me of that. Yeah, I think I'm gonna sit with this one as a 2. Chad, you guys also gave it a 2. I think that's pretty fair for this card. Transmogrify! Okay, this card's pretty sweet. 1 cost event, Gambit Science, Evade. You may use book instead of foot for this evasion attempt. If you succeed in the evasion of the enemy is non-elite, attach Transmogrify to it. Attached enemy gains massive, cannot move. As a reaction after you evade this enemy, discover or include its location. Limit once per round. You do get the clue when you play Transmogrify and attach to the enemy. Honestly, I think this card is pretty good. I think it's going to have a lot of homes. I think it's going to be much better than it reads as well. It's a good way to just turn off some annoying enemies, like, say, for example, a Deep One Bull, right? I'm going to give this one a 3.5, I think. I think I like this card quite a bit. I'm going to give it a 3.5. I think it's better than a 3. Because it does something, which is helps you win the game. A card is better if it helps you win the game, while also, like, this solves an enemy and also gets clues. Like, that's pretty sick. Alright, let's see what you guys gave it. And you got 5 of those, and you got 4 of those. You guys giving it a 4.1. Very nice. Very nice. Okay, we have one more Seeker card to talk about. And this one is actually pretty I'm here too energy. I'm here too! I'm here too! I'm well funded and I'm here too! This is a fortune skill that commits for a wild. While you control a science or tool asset, well-funded gains wild. While you control 3 or more science and/or tool assets, well-funded gains wild instead. This is a card that reeks of fine, so I'm going to give this card a 2.5. It's definitely not like unlike the 2 point. It's just like a fine card, you know? It's just like here, you're going to play it, it's going to give you a bunch of wilds, you're going to pass a test, and you're going to be like, hey, that actually was pretty good. And then it's going to, sometimes you're going to be like, well, hey, it was a little bit underperforming here, but I'm going to give this a 2.5. Feels odd to take when Inquiring Mind is better in most cases. I mean, I guess it depends, right? Like if you are a tool or science deck, I'll take that over. I'll take this over Inquiring Mind. I think anyway. You guys gave it a 2. I think that's fair. Your guys' rating system is different than mine. You guys have to have an average come to 2. There was a lot of 2s there. Yeah. I think the problem is that it's just like it doesn't really like do anything. But I think the card's just fine. Alright. On to Rogue. And we have Alessandra Zorzi. Now we have some stuff to talk about here. I'm gonna give a 3-minute poll for this one because I think we got some juice. 3/4/2/4 for her stat line. Drifter Socialite, you may take an additional action during your turn, which can only be used to parlay. Elder Sign effect +2. If you succeed, choose a non-elite enemy at your location or a revealed connecting location and automatically evade that enemy. Elder Sign's pretty good. Deck size is 30. Row cards 0/5. Cards with parlay 0/5. And neutral cards 0/5. She has 3 copies of Beguile, Zamakona, and 1 random basic weakness. Beguile, 2-cost event. Alessandra Zorzi deck only fast. Play only during your turn. Attach Beguile to a non-elite enemy or location as an action parlay. Either move attached enemy to a revealed connecting location or perform a basic investigate or evade action at its location. If you fail a skill test while resolving this ability, discard Beguiled. You may activate this ability from any location. Zamakona. Elusive. 3/3/3. 3s across the board. Alessandra Zorzi cannot parlay with Zamakona. And the first time she parlays each round, you place 1 Doom on Zamakona. I think he's actually a really tough signature weakness. I think that this is actually like a pretty legitimately scary signature weakness. This fucker does not mess around. Okay, so she's a rogue, and she has 4 foot and 4 book, so she can do rogue things pretty well. She can do the clue getting side pretty easily. She has 3 brain, which is nice for the rogue. I mean, like that's obviously there to also work with power word and all that. She has 2 fist, which doesn't really matter too much on the rogue side of things for how she's going to be doing, especially with the gun that comes in her cycle. And she's going to be doing a lot of parlaying. The additional action to parlay is pretty sick. I think like there's a lot of good stuff. Like even just like having the 3 copies of Beguile means you don't need that much more parlay. You don't need to go like parlay heavy and just jam all the parlay cards into the deck to really make Alessandra shine, in my opinion. If I'm correct, you can use String of Curses to instantly deal with Zamakona with your free action. I think that would be accurate, right? Oh, you can't. But you can't parlay with him. No, then you can't. Yeah, that's inaccurate. You cannot parlay with the motherfucker. They thought ahead. They were like, "Oh, let's get rid of String of Curses." So you can't drain Death Essence him either. Yeah, this motherfucker is a nightmare. This motherfucker does be a nightmare. All right, let's see what you guys give him. Because Alessandra, she's very hard for me to grok, you know? Like, to understand, like, where her power level is. Let's give it her 4.2. One second, let me just freeze this. What do I think of Alessandra? Yeah, I mean, like, handcuffs is if your fighter can handcuff him, that's actually a good way of dealing with him for sure. But I mean, like, backstab is the other way, right? She's very hard to grok. I think she's good, though. I think she's good. No, this man has no time to riddle. He's not here for questions. He's not here to be talked to. He is just here to place doom whenever you talk to somebody. I'm going to give her a 4. I think I'm going to give her a 4. I don't think she's going to be bad, but I don't think she's going to be like one of the top investigators. So we're going to give her a 4. Yeah, I like Alessandra. I think she's a cool investigator. I think Beguile is really good. I think Beguile is a really good signature. Yeah. How's parlaying with him defined in game turns? I'm going to wager you just go like with the kiss, right? So like the keep it simple. It's just like if you are taking a parlay action that he is part of, the action cannot happen. So if you wanted to, yeah, you can't like take a parlay action that targets him, you know? Yeah, you know when you see it. I think that's kind of, honestly, I think that's kind of the thing for the rules in this game for a lot of this stuff is just you'll know it when you see it, right? It's just, you'll know it. Someone else can String of Curses him. Yes, that is true. That is true. You could convince someone else to play String of Curses because you need someone else to deal with your weakness. That is true. That is true. You could. You could. I don't think that's a good selling point for fucking Alessandra, though. I'll sell that much right now. All right, Bianca di Cats. I need some water. Okay. 2 cost, singing your song. Ally slot, 2 damage, 1 horror. Limit 1 per deck uses 10 resources. That's a lot of resources when this lady comes out. Exhaust Bianca di Cats, parlay, move X resources from her to your resource pool. X cannot be more than 5. Test X. Foot X, where X is the number you brought over. If you fail, remember you owe Bianca X resources, then search your bonded cards for Bianca di Cats. Spawn at your location and remove this card from the game. Bonded Bianca di Cats, bearer only. If you owe her X resources, spend X resources and add her to the victory display. When she leaves play, except by the above ability, shuffle her into your decks. Kudos on your pronunciation for Decats. Thank you. I've been passively learning German since I was in high school because my grandma was German, and so I'm trying to get better at it. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 1s, 2 5s. You guys are all over the place with Bianca di Cats, but you guys are going to sit with her in 2.8. 2.8. Honestly, I think that's pretty fair. Bianca's fucking weird, isn't she? She's like Gregory Gry, but bad. I think that's a pretty fair assumption for her, right? Leo? Okay, Leo just steals her money. Let's talk about that, because that's actually kind of interesting, right? Okay, that's actually kind of interesting. So Leo plays her for 1, does the foot action for 5, and then handcuffs her, or just kills her. I don't know if that's worth it, but it's something to consider. Yeah, I do think that she is a potential parlay puppet to have an enemy that you can just keep taking advantage of. He can just Faustian. He can just Faustian. That is true. But we respect the jank here. We respect the jank. You know, you have to take a moment to appreciate janky stuff here, because I think it does add to the play potential of a card. Controversial opinion, I know, but even though I am a Spike, I'm rating for everybody here. Even though I am a motherfucking Spike, I like rating for everybody. Funnily, it spawns your location rather than engage with you. Yeah, you can dump it with your goon. I think I'm going to give her a 2.5, though. Maybe even a 2. She might be trending to a 2 for me, but I'm going to give her a 2.5. Does she stay an enemy at the end of this? No, I'm pretty sure the ally version is going to go back into your deck. You remove this card from the game. You don't exile it from your deck, so it's going to come back as the Bianca di Cats when it looks at your deck. When it looks at your deck for the next scenario. Okay, where are we? Who am I? Who am I? Ooh, this next card doesn't look too hot, to be honest with all of you guys. We got Blackmail File. Alright, time to start talking about some weird rogue parlay cards. 2 cost, asset, item tome illicit. Choose a non-elite enemy or location and parlay. Test brain X, where X is that enemy's printed health value. If you succeed, that enemy disengages from each investigator and gains aloof until the end of the round. Not sure why they picked Will for this. Pretty much makes it Alessandra or off-rogue only. I mean, I think effects like that are fine. I think that it's okay to have cards that are for splash as opposed to something you want to see more. I think like another example is Obfuscation. That's generally played in like Trish, and I would play that in like people who splash into green as opposed to just rogues because they can deal it in other ways, right? I don't think this card's good. I don't think this card is really good. I'm actually gonna go... I think this card might get my first stinky award of the set. I think this card might be a little bit stinky. You guys gave it a 1.6. Honestly, I'm there with you. I'm gonna give this card a 1.5. I think this is the card I like the least of what we've seen so far in terms of what it does. Yeah. Uh-oh, stinky! That's what we got here right now. That's our first stinky card of the day. A real bad Ofuda combo? Now we're talking over meddled. Yeah, I do not like this card. I do not like it in a box. I do not like it with a fox. I do not like Blackmail File. Alright, I like this next card, though. This card's sick. Alright, we got British Bulldog. If it wasn't a willpower test, would it be better? I don't think so. If it was a book test, maybe? But even then. Alright, British Bulldog. This is a 3-cost item, weapon, firearm, illicit. Spend 1 ammo. Fight. You may use foot instead of fist for this attack. This attack deals +1 damage. As a reaction, after you fail a skill test while parlaying with an enemy, put British Bulldog into play from your hand. So, the bottom part of the card, just cover it up. It's cool, but it's not necessary, right? Like, it's not a necessary card. The flavor of it is really good. I agree. But, like, if that, like, you cover that card, the effect is still very good, right? Just a 3-cost, 3-shot. You're going to probably get +1 or +2 because you get to use your foot instead of your fist and deals +1 damage. But you also don't have to do that, right? Ability to fight with agility as a one-handed asset is transformative for Rogue. Honestly, I agree. This feels kind of like lockpicks. This kind of feels like lockpicks when that came out. Chat, you guys love this fucking card. You guys giving it a 4.7. I don't think I was going to go that high, but I appreciate the love here, chat. British Bulldog feels very well liked. I'm going to give it a 3.5. I think the upgraded version is going to be hitting the 4.5 level. But I'm going to be giving this one a 3.5. Why does it only have 3 ammo? Because you've used it to play Russian roulette a few too many times, and some of your friends are dead. Because you loaded the entire gun. So I'm going to give it a 3.5. I think the card's really good. I think it's a very good card. So looking back, I've only actually given one card that's not an investigator a 4 or higher, and that's Wolf Mask. Which again, I think is pretty legit. I love the design of this British Bulldog, though. Card's insanely good. Card's insanely fun. Card's just great design from top to bottom. Alright, next up, we got Fake Credentials. Okay. The level 4 version of this, or whatever the upgrade it is, now we're talking. The level 0 version feels like a level 0 card. So in comparison, once you see the upgraded version. So this is a 3-cost asset. Item illicit, takes up the hand slot. As an action, choose an enemy or location and exhaust Fake Credentials. Parlay, test book 1. This test gets +1 difficulty for each suspicion on Fake Credentials. If you succeed, discover clear location and place 1 resource on Fake Credentials as suspicion. If you fail, you must either discard Fake Credentials or the chosen enemy attacks you. It does tech around locations, definitely. I love it in Trish. Like, I'll play the level 0 version in Trish. I can see myself playing the levels 4 version in other investigators, but I think this one's going to kind of only live in Trish world, right? I feel like it. I still think just, like, copying what I said previously about this card in old videos, where, like, I think the problem with this one is that it scales up a bit too quickly, you know? Yeah, you guys give it a 2.9. I'm kind of hovering in that 2.75 area again. Would be 2 without Snitch in the game, but Snitch brings it to 3.5. That's fair. That's not how I rate cards, though. I like to look at the card in and of itself. Like, if I draw this card and Snitches on the bottom 2 cards in my deck and I never see it, how good am I with this card? And the level 0 version, I don't think I'm that excited about it. Why does this exhaust? Actually, it's probably okay that it exhausts. But yeah, I do agree with Snitch. It goes pretty high. I think I'm gonna give this card a 2.5. But I do agree with if you get Snitch, it definitely goes up in value for sure. But I think just baseline, I'm looking at upgrading out of this ASAP. Because it feels very level 0, you know? Which is a good thing. A level 0 card should feel level 0, but it just kind of feels like a little bit too bad for me in the majority of use cases. Like this, I reasonably also could give this a 2. I reasonably could also give this a 2. You know what? Oh, I kind of want to now. Now that I look at it a bit more. Let me read it one more time. Give me a second. Then I can also sit in silence because I've been talking for an hour and a half. No, I think the location tech is enough to give it a 2.5, I think. No, I'm going to a 2. I'm trusting my gut. I would have given this a 2 before I think like the 2.5 is there because there's an upgraded version, but I have to forget that. I have to forget that there's an upgraded version. We are going to a 2 on this one. That's what we're doing today. It's been decided. And now we have another mask to talk about. This one's fucking weird. Alright, Fox Mask. 1 cost. Uses 2 offerings. Replenish one of these offerings after you move out of a location with an enemy. Spend 1 offering. You get +2 book or +2 foot for this skill test. So the icons are good. These are like what it commits for are good. The question is, though, what rogue would want to play this? Because I could see you playing this in, like, a Kluver Winifred, who, like, leaves enemies for the goon. Or I think Finn would really like it. Finn would love the hell out of this card, right? Rex could definitely use this. Yeah, but he's not a rogue. That's your cheating. Monty. Yeah, Monterey Jack would love the hell out of this card, too. I think the effect on it is really good for Kluvers. I think Finn really likes it. I think a Finn Kluver is going to go hard with this card. Because, like, the Finn can draw the enemy. evade the enemy, and then leave and be like, all right, goon, you'd solve this problem. I think this one is going to sit in a very similar place for me as the Mouse Mask, and I'm going to give this card a 3. All right. And chat, you guys are giving it a 3.1, which I think is very fair. All right. Yeah, I mean, this would be nice. If it triggered on Evader over Success, I would love it to be like Fist and Foot, I think, if not Book and Foot. I think Book and Foot and over Success would be a bit too exciting, like too good. Like it'd be like Wolf Mask level. Because the thing is, that's the thing, right? I think that the majority of the masks are pretty... Shut up, computer! I think the majority of the masks are pretty good. It's the Wolf Mask that's kind of just like too good. And I think that if this was... if you succeed by a certain amount and be Fist and Foot, that would be really fun. Just wanted to say hi. I don't want to say hi to it. I don't want to say hi to it. All right, next up, next pull we got here is for Scrimshaw Charm. All right. 1 cost, Scrimshaw Charm takes up the accessory slot, item Charm Cursed. As an action, add 1 to 3 curse tokens to the Chaos Bag and exhaust Scrimshaw Charm. Gain 1 resource for each token added. Gain 1 additional resource. So, are we excited for the big money rogue curse deck? Because this is going to be a really good piece in that. But the question is, how good is this card just like generally? How many times do we want to activate this, right? Like, the thing is, like, the evaluation of this card changes completely if you are in a curse deck. If you're in a curse deck, this is really good for the curse deck because you just, like, put the curses in, seal the curses, get even more money out of them, and you go to the moon, right? If you're a big money deck, you need to also be going into curses to make this thing, like, work. But just general use, we're going to, like, look at this comparable to Ancestral Token because I do think the cards are actually... very similar to one another in function, to be honest, outside of that. So you guys are giving it a 3.3. Yeah, the slot is very contested. That's the thing, right? Like, the accessory slot in Rogue is juicy. Kind of makes me want to play a Cursed Parallel Monterey Jack, though. I think that could be really fun. Hidden Pocket it. Now we're talking. This Scrimshaw Charm is illicit. So I think, like, in a Curse deck or a big money deck, this is a 3.5. I think generally this card is just a 3, though. So I'm going to give it a 3. And I think actually it probably performs better in a big money deck than it performs in a curse deck, right? Like it has to, you know? Or like a Mina in like a Mystic curse deck. I like it in, so I think it's actually shines best in like Seeker Rogue. You know, like Ursula. She can't use this. So Parallel Monterey Jack and also Monterey Jack, you know? And then you can lock them up. I mean, I honestly kind of like... Dude, I mean, you play this with Armageddon in, like, Dexter. In Dexter, it's really good. You load up this into, like, add 3 curse tokens into the bag, lock them on Favor of the Moon, go fucking nuts with your Armageddon. Yeah, I'm going to give it a 3, though. I think like in the right deck it goes to a 3.5, but I think generally the card its function is good enough that it's worth it. I wouldn't run this. I would run this specifically in like the curse deck though. Curse or big money. I like it in big money, especially if you can take advantage of those curses. Okay. Speaking of big money, bank job, baby. With some of my favorite art I've ever seen in this game. Okay. 2-cost event. Gamble, double, illicit. Additional cost to play blank. Bank job, spend an action. Investigate a location, gain a total of 8 resources distributed as you wish. This is very similar to that one we talked about earlier with the Seeker class, which was the draw 5 cards. These cards, like, I don't think necessarily... They do, like, if you just look at them at, like, face value. Now they compete with Faustian Bargain and, like, Deep Knowledge for the previous one. But at the same time, I think their functions are actually completely different. 8 resources is a lot. It's a lot of fucking money, right? You could upgrade it into Hot Streak. You could upgrade it into Hot Streak for sure. I think in a big money deck, you can also still just keep it, you know? I'm going to give it a 3, just like the last one. I think the card's fine to good. I guess good is the word I should use, not fine. That's what I use for a 2.5, but words have no meaning to me. 2, 2, 1, 5. You guys are giving it a 3.4. Yeah, I'm going to give it a 3. My ratings for these cards are pretty flat, but I think that's kind of just like... I mean, I'll be honest. I'm actually quite happy with this set because there's no cards that I think are like... that I'm like on my initial instinct that are just like... oh, this has just fucked everything up, you know? Alright. We're going to take a tiny break after the rogue cards before we get to the last part of this video. We have False Surrender for our next card. Let's get the poll up for all of you. This is the Die Hard card. We built a deck around it for the Christmas Brins Madhouse this year. Alright, let's see what this puppy does. 1-cost event, Parlay, Tactic Trick. Choose an enemy or location, play a weapon asset from your hand, reducing its cost by 1. You may then take a fight action with that weapon against the chosen enemy. Using foot instead of the skill indicated. I think this card actually has a lot of uses that are like quiet. I think Beard said one in chat, which is good for replacing weapons in Rogue Gun. I think it's good for just like, you know, getting like a foot boost on one use of a weapon, kind of doing like a not great one in the chamber impression in a lot of decks. Yeah, Bulldog gets into play no matter what. Ain't that the truth? I think the problem with this card, though, is that it doesn't do anything that's, like, incredibly exciting. So it's gonna... I think over time, people are probably gonna forget about this card. I like it with Old Shotgun, the event one, right? I think that's always a fun time. Chat, you guys gave it a 3.1. I'm honestly right there with you. This is another 3 from me. I told everyone at home that there were going to be a lot of 3s this year. And this one is no exception. And I also will post in the description this time. I'll post my Google Sheets so you can actually see the ratings that I put in and chat put in. All right. This card's been spoiled for a while, right? Not as long as the other one, but this card has been spoiled for a while. We have Grift. 0-cost event. Parlay. Choose it. I mean, maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was one of the first ones. It just feels like this card's been out there for a while. Parlay. Trick illicit. Choose an enemy location and test foot 0. For each point you succeeded by, gain 1 resource to a maximum of 6 if you failed that enemy attacks you. This is really good for Rita, right? This is really nice for Rita. I think Rita loves the hell out of this card, right? I think like Winifred also. I mean, if you have high foot, you're going to like this card. However, it's also a 0 test on a card, so you can do some broken-ass stuff with it. And I think it shines more in decks where you don't already also have Faustian Bargain, right? I think it's going to shine more there, but I don't think the card is bad by any means. I'm going to give it somewhere in the 3 to 3.5 range. I think I want to give it a 3.5 just because it has a tested 0, and I believe in the tested 0. Chat, you guys are giving it a 3.9. You know what? I'm going to give it a 3.5 because of the tested 0. I think that's enough to make this card actually like go up a whole level in power. I'm very excited to play this in Rita, though. Because Rita kind of wants... This is kind of like what Rita wants to be doing, and she's going to take advantage of it. All right. Now, this is the card that's been out there forever. And this is when we were huffing copium, being like, no, it says 2024 at the bottom. That doesn't mean anything. Please, no. Like, that thing's going to come out this year. The campaign's going to come out this year. What are you talking about? No, that's just from the next cycle. No, there's going to come out. No. We were all huffing that copium. 0 cost event, I'll pay you back. Fast, play only during your turn. Choose an investigator, another investigator location. Move all resources from that investigator's resource pool to your resource pool. At the end of the round, move all resources from your resource pool to that investigator's resource pool. Hey guys, do you think this says resource pool too much? This card says resource pool a bit too much for me. I don't think this card is great. I also don't think this card is good. Now, someone might say, but Justin, you talked about teamwork being nice. And that lets you trade resources. Yeah, but that's not why you're playing teamwork. That's just like some gravy on top of it. I'm going to give this a 2. It's fun jank for sure. It's fun jank, like, for sure. But I don't think it's enough to... At least it's fast. Can you imagine if this wasn't? Blech. Can't wait for Bryn doing this to Travis on Preston. Yeah, that would be good. We just have to get Travis playing Preston again. Maybe when we do our all-rogue run in our draft, Travis will play Preston and just fucking make his life miserable. You never know, right? You never know. Yeah, I think I'm just going to give this card a 2, though. It's not... It's not good. It's not great. All right. Here, everyone, this is the big huh of the set, where we see a level 0 version be better than the experienced version most of the time. All right. Stir the Pot 0. This is a 3-cost event, Trick Gambit. Parlay, choose an area location and test book X where X is the chosen enemy's combined damage and horror values, which is usually going to be 2. For reference, that's usually going to be 2. If you succeed, deal 2 damage each enemy location. If you succeed by 2 or more after this effect resolves, you may disengage from each enemy and move to a connecting location. So, this is wild, isn't it? Isn't it? This is like, is there another example of, in the same set, a level 0 version just like outclassing the higher experienced version? Because, like... Hey, Ross, you come for some food? Yeah, it's food time, isn't it? This is usually when you come bother me for food. Because, like, I remember, like, Stir the Pot 5 had me scratching my fucking head. I was like, what is even happening here? Chat, you guys are giving this one a 3.5. That's a nice rating. How is it better? Just the XP cost is too high? That's why it's better. This costs 0 and, like, is has an effect that is like actually playable for its cost. Like, the XP cost is part of a card, you know, like it does make a card better or worse depending on the XP value, right? Oh, I'm gonna give this one a 3. Hey, buddy. It is actually just better because you don't have to pay any XP, and this is wild to me, right? Like, this is what I will never, unless I do another play all card challenge, I actually don't see myself playing Stir the Pot 5. It reminds me of that Clean Sneak card from Scarlet Keys, which is just like a weird rogue card that is just like too fiddly to actually make work. But it costs 4 down the rabbit hole. That changes everything. Good against swarm enemies? Yeah, it does seem good against swarm enemies. But the thing is, like, this version is also just, like, good against swarm enemies, right? Like, this is actually just, like, a pretty good card. It's just Storm of Spirits with actually no downside. Yeah, if Stir the Pot 5 was level 3, like 3 experience, then we would be talking. But 5 experience, it doesn't reduce the cost. Are even the icons the same? And like the only difference is that I don't know, man. I don't know. Whew. I'm gonna give this card a 3 though. Close to, I mean, honestly, I could even see this being a 3.5. I think this card is actually a pretty good effect, but I'm gonna give it a 3. All right, we got Vamp. Succeed by 2 is not on the level 5. Yes, it just happens, but that's not worth the experience. All right, Vamp. This is a 1-cost event. Parlay. Choose an enemy location and test any skill. If you succeed and you tested Brain, remove a Doom from that enemy. Book. Discover clear location. Foot. Automatically evade that enemy. If it is non-elite, move it to a connecting location. And Fist. Deal 2 damage to that enemy. I mean, I think that's the problem with this card is that it's kind of just, like, fine. But, like, I kind of just want to punch a dude. Like, that's kind of the thing, right? Like, I kind of want to use this to punch an enemy. To punch an enemy with my fist, and the other options are not really that there for me, right? But, it is, like, kind of, if you look at this card as what Beard is saying in chat, which is it basically just sets an investigate, a fight, or an evade to a 3 shroud, or like a 3 skill value. It does change the perspective on the card a bit. Okay, you're being bad. Because I know you just want food. You actually don't want to cuddle. You just want food. However, with that said, the clue is not worth the rate. The fist, however, is worth the rate, and the evade is worth the rate as well. But the problem, if I may say, with evading is that evading is kind of just not great. I'm going to give this card a 2.5, though. I'm going to give this card a 2.5. I think the card's fine. You guys gave it a 2.6, so we're actually sitting pretty similarly on this card. Okay, next up, we got Diabolical Luck. This is a weird one. I remember this one perplexing me a little bit. So this is a Fortune Cursed skill that commits for a wild. When you reveal a cursed token during a skill test you're performing, you may commit Diabolical Luck to that skill test from your hand. If you do, Diabolical Luck gains Wild, Wild, Wild. So it becomes a Promise of Power. It's a reverse Promise of Power, is essentially what this card is. It's some nice curse insurance, right? Yeah, that's the easiest way. It turns a curse from a -2 into a +2. Is that good enough? Yeah. For level 0? Yeah, it's good enough. It's a good enough card. Would I run it outside of curse decks? No, someone needs to be running curse for me to really want to play this. It's nice that you commit it after it's revealed. It's really good for that. I'm going to give this card... You guys gave this... You gave 4s. That's wild. See, the problem I have with this card, though, is that 90% of the time, I know I'm just making up a number off the top of my head, and like you can't trust anything anyone says when they just make a number off the top of their head. But like curse tokens don't matter the majority of the time, right? I'm going to give it a 3, though. I think the card's good. You guys gave it a 3.4 with your average rating. I think the card's good, though. I'm not going to like sit here and like say I don't think the card's good. The effect is very powerful. So I'm going to give it a 3. Again, I think, as I said at the start of this video, but when they do, you've got diabolical luck. Okay, no, okay. I'm going to finish my sentence, but then I'm going to get to that because I actually don't think that's necessarily true. As I said at the start of the video, a lot of these cards are going to be sitting around a 3 for my ratings. Now, to get that point, but when they do, you've got diabolical luck. Here's the thing, though. How often are you going to commit this on your first curse token, right? Like, say, for example, you're fighting an enemy and you draw a curse token. You're up... You had a plan for it, right? So you did the thing and you're like... I don't know, I just don't think it is. You're going to let that first curse token go and you're like, yeah, fine, I don't need to use this here. It's going to have Phoenix Down syndrome. Is that what it is? Phoenix Down, is that the thing? Or like a full heal potion? Where you're just going to be like, I'm going to sit on this, and you might end up sitting on this longer than you actually want to. And then you're going to use it, and you're going to draw like a +1, and then you're going to end up cutting it because you realize that curse tokens actually do very little against you, right? Like, I don't think the card's bad. I think the card's good. I mean, I'm giving it a 3, right? But it is nice curse insurance, and I think it's going to be well played in curse decks. For sure. For sure. Okay. Our last rogue card for this video is Light-Footed, otherwise known as Rita on a card. This card's actually pretty simple if I remember. Light-Footed, practice trick, commits for a foot. If the skill test is successful during an evasion attempt, you may automatically evade another enemy or location. Yep. Oh, hey, buddy. You're kind of moving and it's kind of hurting me a bit. This is like it's like an alternative version of Survival Instinct, that red skill. And that card's good. And I honestly think that this card is also... Oh, Jesus, Russ, you minimized everything. I honestly think this is like also just like a nice, good effect. I don't think it's going to break anything wide open, but I think it's going to be nice and consistent. And I'm going to give this beautiful motherfucker a 3. It's just a good, nice effect, right? It's one of those how this is not in core things when it took it so many years for us to get it. That's because it was Survivor's thing, right? Like evading multiple enemies was Survivor's thing for the longest time. But now they're starting to explore other colors, color pies, right? You guys also gave it a 3. Let's go! Let's go, chat. Teamwork makes the dream work. Russ, you're on screen for everybody to see. All right, we are an hour and 53 minutes into the video, and we have 2 classes left to go. I think we can get this done in under 3 hours. Okay, we have Kohaku here. On to the Mystic cards. We're starting with the Investigator. And we have Kohaku. 4/4/3/1 for a stat line. The start of your turn, either add 1 Blessed token or 1 Curse token to the Chaos bag. Eric slipped in for a second there. Whichever there are fewer of. In case of a tie, you choose. Or remove 2 Bless and 2 Curse tokens from the Chaos bag to take an additional action this turn. Elder Sign effect is +2. Add 1 Bless token and 1 Curse token to the Chaos bag. Deck size is 30. Bless 0/5. Curse 0/5. Occult level 0. Mystic cards 0-3. It's huge! His deck building is actually insane. And then he gets Book of Living Myths and the Weeping Uri. So Book of Living Myths, 2-cost asset, takes up the hand slot. Item, Tome, Blessed, Cursed, Kohaku deck only, obviously. As a reaction, when a Chaos token will be revealed to your location, exhaust Book of Living Myths, search the Chaos bag for a Blessed or Cursed token, whichever there are more of, in case of a tie you choose, and resolve it instead. That is a very powerful... That is a very powerful signature card. To be able to just get the token that like is helpful in that moment, depending on what you need, is very powerful. Weeping Uri, aloof, elusive and hunter, 2/2/2. Prey Kohaku only. Forced, after an investigator reveals a blessed token or cursed token during a skill test at Weeping Uri's location. If it is ready, Weeping Uri attacks an investigator, limit once per test. I mean, like, the signature weakness is actually pretty powerful, right? Like, it's actually a pretty scary signature weakness. It's easier to kill than Mr. Zamakona, or whatever his name is. But it also will probably trigger and hurt somebody else. You have to play around it a bit more, but he is easier to kill, admittedly. Admittedly, the Weeping Uri is easier to kill. Elusive 2 HP and elusive 3 HP is a huge difference. Huge. Yep. Notably, though, my cat is doing something he is not supposed to be doing. If it deals damage to you, if it attacks from its trigger ability, it will leave, right? It will go to an adjacent location. Honestly, I love Kohaku. I think his design is really cool. And I also think he is going to be very powerful. You guys are giving him 4.5. I think that's fair. This is also a pseudo hype ranking as well for this video. So I'm actually gonna give Kohaku my first 5 of the day. I think he's very powerful as well. I think his card pool is insane. And I think his ability is very good. Hey, Russ. This isn't the time to be doing this, buddy. Alright, 1 second. My only beef with Kohaku is I wish he was 4 fist instead of 4 book. That's my only wish. Elusive trigger after the test finishes. So yeah, he doesn't leave, but he still attacks you, right? But he doesn't leave until after. Yeah, I think I'm going to give Kohaku my first 5. He's the one I'm most hyped about for the investigators in terms of like what he's capable of. And I also think he's very powerful as well. Okay. Cat Mask. We have another mask to talk about. Okay. Cat Mask, 1 cost. Uses 2 offerings, or plus 2 of these offerings. 2 of these offerings! When Doom is placed on a card with no Doom. Lightning Bolt, spend 1 offering, you get plus 2 fist, or sorry, plus 2 brain or plus 2 fist for this skill test, limit once per test. So, I think this mask is very good. I think that this is one of the better of the masks. I think it's better than both the Seeker and the Rogue ones. How much better? That's a great question. 2 of these offerings being replenished is very powerful. Because, spoiler alert, it's actually not that hard for Doom to be placed on a card with no Doom. Right? Because agendas, enemies, player cards. Like, those are 3 cards with no Doom that can suddenly get Doom. I think... Let me see what chat says, but I got my stuff logged in here. I have my number that I'm going to talk about. Chat gave it a 3.8. I think... I'm going to give this one a 4. I think I'm going to give this card a 4. I think that this is up there. I think it's notably better than the other ones because this does something also different for Mystics, especially if we're looking at the Mystic thing. Because you get +2 brain, which is both offensive and defensive, and you can also use this to like help kill a rat really easily as well if you get one. The string curses you brought for Alessandra's weaknesses just gets better. I know you're hopefully joking, but like going back to that Alessandra and someone else bringing string of curses to deal with her weakness, you don't want to be that person who's like, hey, I can't solve my weakness. I need you to solve it for me. It's pretty embarrassing, to be honest. I would be like, really? You can't solve your weakness? I feel like this will trigger all the time. Yeah, honestly, you want to be using the offerings on these ASAP. Like, this isn't an offering where you wait. You're just like, go, go. And that's why this card is also going really well with what I was talking about earlier in terms of what I'm looking for from the masks. Excuse me. And this one is really good because it is really, it refills at a very good rate, which means that you're going to get your 4 from this really quickly. Which is pretty sick. Pretty sick. All right, on to the Rod. The Rod of Carnamagos. Carnamagos. I love the Rod. The Rod of Carnamagos. Scepter of the Mad Seer, 2-cost asset. Item, Relic, Occult, Curse. This is going to be called Rot Wand, affectionately by me. Limit 1 per deck, takes up the hand slot, as a lightning bolt, choose an annihilate enemy at any location, and exhaust Rod of Carnamagos. Reveal 5 random chaos tokens to the chaos bag. If a cursed token is revealed, search your bonded cards for a random rot event and attach it to that enemy. And we have 5 different rot cards. Abyssal Rot. When attached enemy leaves play, set Abyssal Rot aside the Abyssal Rot aside. They all are going to be set aside when the enemy leaves play, and they all do a different thing when attached to an enemy. Abyssal Rot, attached enemy cannot attack. Amber Rot, attached enemy is defeated, gain resources equal to its printed health to a maximum of 5. Scarlet Rot, which is attached enemy, takes 1 damage at the end of the round. Putrescent Rot, which is attached enemy, gets -1 fight and -1 evade. And Virescent Rot, which is attached enemy, cannot move. I think this card is pretty damn cool. I think it's probably, in my opinion, the coolest card from ARKHAM in a very long time. Because this is like one of those things that like I think actually explores the like the design space of bonded cards in a very cool way, you know? And luckily, yeah, well, although I agree that the random rot from the card isn't like optimal, I think there's only like one that I would consider to be a miss the majority of the time. And it's not because the effect is bad, but just because it doesn't nullify the enemy, right? The Amber Rot, the one that turns it into like a crack the case for the enemy's skull, right? And this is, I think, probably the one that you want to hit the least, but when you do hit it at the right time, it's really good. And I think all the other ones are also just kind of like, I mean, also I guess like Scarlet Rot isn't great, but it also solves the problem. I think the level 0 version is playable. I think it's actually also pretty good. I'm going to give it a 3.5. Yeah. I love the Rot Wand, but it does improve notably into its upgraded version. All right, Speak to the Dead. This is a 1-cost talent ritual that takes up a spell slot. Uses 6 offerings. As an action, spend any number of offerings to parlay. Choose a spell or ritual event in your discard pile and reveal tokens in the chaos bag equal to the number of offerings spent. If at least one skull or curse token was revealed, return the chosen event to your hand. Yep. Obligatory Jim mention, 100%, 100%. We love you, Jim! Rest in peace, brother! So, how many tokens are you pulling on this? 3? You doing 3 offerings? Trying to recur 2 cards with this? I think I would try to go for 3. I think I would try to do 3 and 3. And then if it doesn't work, I would do like 4 and 2. I mean, it really also changes depending on the makeup of your bag, how many curse tokens you've put in there, etc., etc., etc. Chat's giving this a 2.5. Use the rod in the middle of the pull. Does that work since this is not a test? So yeah, so as written, I actually don't know if this works with the way the rod is, but I know the rod right now is breaking shit open. And I'm a believer that they should just let the world burn for a bit. I mean, I think you can tweak this up. Spell events and ritual events are very powerful to recur, right? Yeah, like if you're cheating this card I think is astronomically good, right? Like if we just go back in time a little bit to look at Kohaku. Look at his signature. It's too tiny on that screen. I need to look at this one. When it would be revealed, yeah, just use this, right? In Jacqueline, I think it's really good. Yeah, I don't think you have a player window for Rod. But I think you can use... Yeah, you can use Book of Living Myths. Oops, I'm going too far. I'm going into the future. Olive McBride? Yeah. You know what? I'm going to go on a little bit of a limb here, okay? I'm going to make my... I'm making like a potential future list video entry here because I'm going to give this card a 3. I think it's good. I think this card is actually good, and I think there's enough ways that you can cheat it to make get the value out of it. And yes, those do require like other cards to get the cheating out of it. But I think baseline, you probably in a curse deck are going to hit if you do 3 and 3 without any cheating, right? Taking up Arcane Slot is tough, though. Not where you're playing this card, right? This card, you're playing this in an event-based spell slinging deck, so you don't need your Arcane Slots. I think that this card actually is good. After seeing, like, everything else that came with it, looking at Kohaku, looking at the great picture, I believe. I believe in Speak to the Dead. I think it's actually going to be a surprise hit. I think it's going to be a surprise hit. And if it isn't, I just made list video content in the future. All right. Wicked of Fame. Two cost of asset, takes up the hand slot, item, weapon, melee, cursed. As an action, add 1 to 3 curse tokens to the chaos bag. Fight. You get +2 fists for this attack for each curse token added as part of the action's cost. If this attack defeats an enemy, replenish 1 charge or offering on an asset you control. A Thane can replenish the masks? It can! It can actually replenish the masks. So, I want this card. I want this card for none of the for none of the curse part. I don't even care. Like, the replenishing charge is really good. I want this card for two-handed mystics. Because a Mystic Goon in two-handed as the fighter, like, well, that's a Mystic Goon. A Mystic Goon is very unreliable in all of my practice. They're the ones that have caused me the most stress. A Mystic Goon fighter. Because once again, I'm saying ATM machine. But a Mystic Goon, they have been like one of those things where like you get a small health enemy and you're like, well, fuck. And then you miss with your attack and you're like, well, fuck me. I guess I'm just like, I'm bad at everything. Chat, you guys are giving this a 3.6. But like for me, the +1, add a curse token, attack for +2, which is usually 3, which is usually 5 with my 3 base, is enough that I'm able to actually like do something with it, and then you can potentially get some charges replenished on top of that. I am going to give this card a 3.5. I think it's actively above good. I think it's like very good, or if not like a little bit good, you know? I'm kind of into it. I don't care about the curse tokens though. I'm just like using this to attack at 1. Attack 1 time with a curse token to kill small enemies. Let's go. Okay, Antediluvian Hymn, otherwise known as the, oh no. Alright, Antediluvian Hymn. 2-cost event, Augury double. Additional cost to play Antediluvian Hymn, spend an action, reveal the top 5 cards in counter deck. For each card revealed, you may add 1 curse token to the chaos bag. To place that card on the bottom of the encounter deck, return the rest of the top of the encounter deck in any order. They needed to make this a look card. They needed to make this a look. Because it's not a look, this deck has literally lost the home you want it in. Right? I'm going to give this card a 1. I think this is going to be the only card that that's getting a 1 for me this year. Because it's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. Like, if you want to look at encounter cards, grab a Scrying. It's better, you know? If you're scared of what's coming out of the encounter deck, grab Mythos Interaction, right? If this card was a look, you'd play this card in Gloria, right? But because it's not a look, you can't. So you won't. Chat, you guys are giving this a 1.6. I don't think this card is worth playing. To be fair, it might completely scale up well in solo. I mean, yeah, but the thing is, like, 2 actions in solo is really rough. I think these double cards are not good enough for solo, probably, right? Except for maybe the Guardian one that allows you to take 3 actions, because you're taking actions. I want to change my vote. I can do that. Put it down to a 1.5. It's noted. It's noted. But yeah, this needed to be a look, I think. I understand the fear of Gloria being, like, too strong, but, like, Gloria would play this, and now, right now, I can't think of a time that I'd want to play this. Okay. Next up, we got a fun card. I think this card's really fun. Is it good? Let's find out. Let's read it together. Drain Essence. This is a 2-cost event. Parlay. Choose an enemy or location and test Brain X, where X is the chosen enemy's fight value. So this is just a fight with Brain. If you succeed, move 1 damage from your investigator to the chosen enemy, up to 2 damage if the chosen enemy is not elite. This is a good card, right? I think this card's actively very powerful. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm giving this card a 4. I think this card is actively really good. It does sit very nicely next to Razor. I think there's times where you wouldn't run Drain Essence, but I think that you'd want to run Drain Essence in a lot of Mystics, I think. Can this kill Broods? It's move. Let's look. Brood. And cannot be damaged or attacked. I'm thinking this can kill broods. I'm thinking this can kill broods. Hey, chat, we both gave it a 4. Let's go. Let's go. Yeah, I think this card's just really good, right? Because we always used to say, I mean, healing at, we can all agree at this point now, healing in ARKHAM is actually in a very comfortable place. Like, it's actually, like, healing is very good for a lot of cards. But this card is, like, really fucking good healing, right? Because it's also killing an enemy. And, like, what more can you ask for from healing? Like, that's the reason why everyone pays an experience to get glory on the Runic Axe, right? Great fucking card. Great card. Oh no, my cat's coming back down. Russell, you're too wild, brother. Anti-Brotherhood Cultist? Oh, hell yeah, let's go. Alright, on to our last Mystic card for this video. We got a nice simple one. This is just a Cursed. A nice simple skill. Commits for a wild. It's innate and cursed. When you commit a curse to the skill test, add up to 3 curse tokens to the chaos bag. During the skill test, treat the modifier of each curse token revealed as 0. So the nice thing about a cursed is that it does 2 halves of what you want from a curse card, right? Where it's either I want to add curses or I want to protect myself from my friends' curses. While not as good as the Diabolical Luck because you can't do it after, it actually sits in a pretty similar sort of spot where this can be good curse prevention. Notably, I do think it's worse than Diabolical Luck because you can't do it reactively. You have to do it, like, actively. You need to be like, I'm going to draw a curse token this turn, and then you don't, and you're like, well, that's okay. And it's like with Diabolical Luck, you can react to it and be like, oh, I drew a curse token, I'm going to play that. So I think it is worse. I think I gave Diabolical Luck a 3. I'm going to give this a 2.5, though. It's nothing notable, but it's fine. It's a fine card. It's definitely above a 2, in my mind. You guys give it a 2.9. Alrighty then. Dude, I can't wait to drain the essence from some broods. Alright. We have one class left to go, and we're going to start with Hark Sarmson, everyone's favorite farmer who is looking for his par. Alright, buckle up. We got a lot to read. 3153 for a stat line. You may be assigned damage and horror dealt to ally assets or other investigators at your location. When you would be defeated by damage and or horror, instead heal all damage and horror and swap this card with its bonded Resolute version, either side face up. Elder Sign effect, just +1, baby. Just +1. Hank Sampson. Deck building 35, Survivor 05, up to 10 other innate and or spirit cards, level 0 to 2. Ooh, I better make sure my deck that I'm building right now ain't illegal. Stout-hearted and wears par. Stout-hearted is a very good signature asset. 2-cost event, fast play when you engage a non-elite enemy. Move up to 2 damage and a horror from Hank Sampson to that enemy as damage. And then the signature weakness is wears par. Par's dead. Revelation. Discard cards from the top of the encounter deck until an enemy is discarded. Attach Where's Par to that enemy and spawn at a connecting location if able. Attached enemy gains elusive. And at the end of the round, Hank Sampson takes 1 direct horror. His Resolute versions that he has here, when he turns into a Dark Souls boss. The first one we have is Warden. 4163. You cannot be healed. You may be assigned damage and horror dealt to ally assets or other investigators' location. That works for both of them. Both of them gain you cannot be healed. Its reaction on Warden is when 1 or more damage is placed on you, gain 2 resources. Move 1 damage from Hank Samson to an asset you control. That's his Elder Sign effect. And then the assistant is 3/3/4/4. You cannot be healed. As a reaction, when one or more horror is placed on you, draw a card. And you can move 1 horror from Hank Samson to an asset you control. Okay. So, here is my working theory with Hank Samson right now. Which is that you don't want to die. I think actually rushing into his second phase isn't, like, great. Isn't actually, like, that super important. In so much so, I would actually say that rushing to his second phase is actually going to be a detriment. I think you want to take time, get to his second phase naturally, and then, like a Dark Souls boss, you want to level up and like go into your second phase, right? The Resolute, like turning into a Resolute, is just a bonus that comes on top of it. Number 2, I actually don't think it's as obvious as people have previously stated, which is just go for the Warden version. Because I think the way that it plays, and the way that like Survivor weapons play, you can actually get by very confidently with your 4 fist and then a fist boost, right? Like, yeah, it's going to suck to go from 6 fist to 5 fist when it happens. Like, assuming you have, like, let's just say you have a Jessica Hyde in play, which I think is a very good ally to play with Hank Samson. So it's one of those things that I think it's not as actually cut and dry as it seems. Because, like, to be honest, going from 6 to 5 always isn't the right choice for your fist. I think it's sometimes to go to the other one. You kind of want to react to what has happened in the game so far and what is going to be happening in the game, right? If you haven't seen your Where's Par and you flipped into your Resolute version, it might be better for you to go into your into your assistant version and do things. If your deck is already like running a Jessica Hyde, going into your Resolute, your assistant version Resolute is also, I think, a better choice to make. If you need cards, grabbing your if you need resources, go into your Warden. If you need cards, go into your assistant version. I think that Will York has shown that a 4-fist fighter is very capable at achieving in this game. And while Hank Samson can't run Beat Cop to get there consistently, or like some Guardian weapons, there's a lot of Survivor weapons that also work really well for him. And I do think that he can still fight very confidently with Jessica Hyde in play, right? I mean, the resources are nice if you're playing like a Dark Horse deck and using like Fire Axe and stuff like that, or like a Meat Cleaver. Oh, Meat Cleaver does horror. But I think that there's a reason for both. But I think it's just not as obvious to go to Warden all the time. I think that Hank actually is going to be a very complicated investigator to play. And like the decisions that Hank is going to have to make are going to be tougher decisions to make. But we're talking about power level here. Chat, you guys gave him a 4.4. I'm going to give Hank a big 5-0. I think he is a very powerful investigator, and he's going to be a great fighter. I think he's going to be very good at fighting and killing things. Okay. And also, like, survivors can flex, so he can also do that really well, too. Personally, I look at Hank and think to myself, I'll just stick to Daniela. That sounds sad. You should play every investigator. That's what makes this game so fun. That's just my opinion. I think every investigator has a reason to play them, and it's more fun if you play them all. But I mean, I have played them all, so I'm coming from that perspective as well. Okay. All right, Matchbox. card's pretty dang good, isn't it? Matchbox is a good card. What do you think about the Ornate Bow Cleaning Kit combo? Sounds fun. Sounds like a good time. Matchbox. This is a 1-cost item tool asset that takes up no slots. Uses 3 supplies. If Matchbox has no supplies, discard it. As a lightning bolt during any investigator's turn, exhaust Matchbox and spend a supply. Your location gets -1 shroud until the end of this turn. So, let's talk about this. Matchbox is better with scavenging, but I think that is actually like scavenging who is doing that, you know? So I'm going to actually just look at this card as if I would look at a Bandages that heals, or an old Keyring 0 that doesn't, or like an old Keyring that doesn't get scavenged, right? Because I think, oh shit, I put on 3-minute timer on this? Oh, fuck. Alright, well then I guess I'll talk about Matchbox for a bit. I don't think this card's a 5. I don't think this card's a 5. I think the card's good. I think the card's very good. But I don't think it constitutes a 5 for me. Because it doesn't actually expedite clues, it just helps you get clues, which is very powerful, right? But like for me, a 5 has to expedite the process of winning the game. And this card doesn't do that. It makes it more consistent, definitely. But I don't think it's a 5. I also don't think it's a 4.5, to be honest. It's a 4. I mean, it might even be a 3.5 for me. It's a good card. But once again, I'm looking at this outside of the scavenging package. Because I think, obviously, with scavenging, this card goes to the moon. And it has a great time being on the moon. It works really well in tested 0 decks because you can use it in combination with with your flashlight and stuff like that. You can use it during those tests. So like Daryl's obviously gonna love it, right? I think I'm gonna give it a 4. I think it is a very powerful card. So I'm gonna give this guy a 4. I think it is one of the strongest in the box. For sure, I think. So right now I have my strongest card in the box is Wolf Mask, which I actually, yeah. Like at level 0, I think that's so far. Why do you look at it outside of scavenging? Would you want to play in a deck that doesn't use scavenging? Yes, I think I would want to play in a deck that doesn't use scavenging. I don't think... honestly, I think that sentiment right there is actually shows the problem of scavenging. Scavenging just gobbles up so many cards and so many decks because it's so good. And people just like are hard pressed to explore the investigator card pool without using scavenging because it's just so hard to not find a reason to run, like to not run scavenging. And it actually is kind of like a problem. It's like one of those things where it gets to the point of Magic the Gathering meta, where like when a card gets so ubiquitous in the format, that's when it becomes a problem. And I think scavenging, I remember Val, the Valentine who did all the deck lists, like the 30K and series on ARKHAM told me that he actually had a problem not playing ice picks and scavenging in his decks because it's just like such a good combo and is so easy to trigger, especially for true solo. And it's a problem. It's a problem. And like I think cards should be obviously like I think with scavenging this becomes a 5, but we have to also look at the card itself, right? Because if we assume that the designers always want us to play scavenging in our survivor decks, then like that's boring as hell, right? And I have to assume that the designers don't want us to always only be scavenging with this card. And that comes into how I look at the card as well. If I'm just putting this in a random deck. Because I think that's a scavenging problem. It's like that goes to the level of scavenging, not so much to the level of Matchbox. All right. I think Matchbox is great though. I gave it a 4, chat. You guys gave it a 4.8. Whew! I don't disagree. I think it's a very powerful card. All right, on to Pelt Shipment. This card's fun. This is a dash cost asset that takes up an item, and so it's an item in supply. It doesn't take up a slot, but it does take up hand size. Because while it's in your hand, your maximum hand size is reduced by 3. As a reaction, when the game ends or you resign, if Pelt Shipment is in your hand, reduce the experience cost of the next new card you purchase before the next scenario by 1. So I don't think this card is like that worth it. I might run it in like some of my decks at level 0 to just like I'll run one of it, hope I find it, just to, in the off chance I make my Jessica Hyde cheaper. You know? It has some fun synergies where like I think like the best way to play Pelt Shipment is to cheat. You know, like resourceful it, scavenge it back, use something like Catcha, right? Do you ever run 2 of these? I think you do. I think you do. In a deck that's going for it and trying to cheat it a little bit, I think it's really good for that kind of stuff. I think like then you'll run 2. The problem is though it's in Survivor. And Survivor doesn't really care that much. You guys give it a 2.9. I generally agree. I'm going to give it a 3. I think it's a fun card, though. I think it's a fun extra XP card. I like what it does. All right. Pitchfork. This is the Survivor weapon. The first of the few. First of the 2. Pitchfork, 3 cost, item, tool, weapon, melee, takes up 2 hand slots. As an action fight, you get +1 and deal +2 damage for this attack. If this attack is successful, lose control of Pitchfork and attach to your location. Your location gains action. Take control of Pitchfork. Any investigator at Pitchfork's ability may trigger this ability. Pitchfork's location may trigger this ability. Honestly, I think that this is like just a good Survivor weapon. I think this is a Survivor weapon that with Survivor shenanigans, you could actually reasonably take through the whole campaign. I know that might be a little bit crazy, but I think like the idea is that you're okay if it gets stuck after a certain point, right? Like I'm talking about, it's about it's like definitely Survivor shenanigans, the card for a weapon, which I think is really good. I like Survivor shenanigans when it comes to fighting, and I think Survivor shenanigans are kind of going wild with this set for their combat tricks. Chat, you guys are giving it a 3.1. What do I think? What do I think for this card? So it's on rate, 2 hands, 2 actions, deals 3 damage. That's about like close to what we've seen with Sledgehammer. You know, the Sledgehammer 0. So it's like perfectly on rate with that level. Can Parallel Ash Campy pick it up on the other side? I think so. It's a card you own, right? I love the hot potato. And someone said like the enchant weapon with the pitchfork seems like a really fun build that you could do. I think the problem with this card where it won't scale as well is that it's kind of hard for some survivors to take advantage of it, but obviously like Hank plays with it really well. And then obviously we can say this card sucks to auto-fail on. Like you auto-fail on this card, that's bad. You know what? I'm going to give this a 3.5. I think this card's actually pretty sick. I think it's actually really good. You only drop it if you succeed? Oh, never mind then. There's no downside. Well, that's crazy. I just assumed that it was. I read the card and it just like, boop. Okay, that makes it a lot less scary. That actually, yeah, I think that's actually very playable. Fuck it. You know what? Because of that, I'm actually taking this to a 4. I'm actually taking Pitchfork to a 4. Just reading it here. Like, it's, yeah, obviously, like, it's worse against bosses, right? But, man, I think 4's too high. I'm going to take it back to 3.5. Because it's worse against bosses, right? But, like, it solves all small enemies. I'm going to go 3.5. Solves all small enemies, no problem. All right. Ah, the Sparrow Mask. So I think this is, I'm going to just say, I think this is the second best mask. 1 cost, uses 2 offerings, replenish one of these offerings after take 1 more damage in or horror. As a lightning bolt, spend 1 offering, you get +1 brain and plus 2 brain or +2 foot for this skill test. The reason why is because it's like very easy to refill. But I think it's going to be played less than you think it is. That's what I'm going to say right now. I think that this card, while I think being the second best mask just in a vacuum, this card is actually entirely win more. And I'll be honest, there's just like better ways to not like, because like the idea is like, you're like, oh, I know, like what everyone's saying, where it's like, oh, I'm going to take damage and horror. And hard to boost agility? What are you talking about? My Rita sits at like 7 foot comfortably every time I play her. Like 7 foot is just where I sit with Rita. I actually probably don't know if I play this in Rita. I mean, I might. Just because I would try it out. But I think my problem with it, you guys are giving it a 4.3, which I think is a very fair rating. But I think the problem is just that, like, this card is just, like, not lose as opposed to win. And I have issues with cards that are not lose as opposed to win, right? You know, because it's just, like, it's just helping you defensive stats, which is good, right? Like, you want to have, like, some defensive protection, and in theory, Sparrow Mask could be your defensive protection. But, like, if you think about it, right? This card is incredible in Agnes. Like, as I said, every mask has an exception where there's an investigator that this card is just insane in, right? But I'm talking about, like, just, like, looking at the card itself. So this is what's going to happen, right? You get three encounter cards. Let's just say there are 3... there are 3 rotting remains, just for the simple thing of it, right? You get the first one, you test 5 to 3, you pass. You're really happy. You get the second one, you test 5 to 3, you pass. You're really happy. You get to the third one, you fail by 3, take 3 horror, you get 1 charge back. You draw your third rotting remains, your 4th rotting remains, you pass by 2, you're happy. And like that is, it sounds like a good thing for 1 card, but I don't think that is worth 1 card when there's other things that can do things. I'm losing my voice. I'm losing it. We're gonna drink some water. However, with that said, that is entirely just my theory when it comes to the game. I don't necessarily expect everyone to also believe that. It could be like everyone's different for how they view these things, but that's like my thought for this mask in particular. But I think that it's good, but I do think that it's gonna like end up being less good than people think. I think the only mask that excuse me, I think the only mask that is gonna actively like crush it all the time, I think, is Wolf Mask. Wolf Mask is just, I think, heads and shoulders above the others. Even with just a rating from 4.5 to 4, it's very good. I'm gonna give Sparrow Mask a 4. You guys gave it a 4.3. I mean, anyway, this is just my theory regarding the masks. I think they're good, but they're definitely less good than what people have been saying. We have no 5 so far on in player cards, just on investigators. I mean, which is actually probably pretty good for level 0. A 5 level 0 card is kind of an uh-oh. It feels like an uh-oh, doesn't it? Okay. I can do this last push. We can get through this. All right. Elaborate Distraction. 3-cost event. This is a double. As additional cost to play Elaborate Distraction, spend an action. Playing Elaborate Distraction does not provoke attacks of opportunity. For each enemy at location and each connecting location, choose one. Automatically evade that enemy if it is not elite. Deal 1 damage to that enemy. Long shot might have a shot at 5. It is. That actually could. It could actually, for sure. Yo, I actually think this card is pretty playable. I'll be honest, if this, like, if you use this card to kill an Acolyte at an adjacent location, you're probably pretty okay with it. Obviously, you want to do more than that, but, like, I think that it's, like, one of those things that it actually has a pretty low floor, I think, for when this card actually is, like, you're happy to see it be played. You kill an Acolyte on a connecting location. Chance giving it a 3.2. I'm pretty close. I'm going to give it a 3.0. So far, we're a lot closer this year, chat. In a lot of these ratings. Too situational? I mean, I can agree to that, but I mean, like, as for a situational card, it is pretty good at, like, having, like, a low floor. Oh! This is a good job, chat, or good job, Justin? I say good job, chat, because I'm the one making the video, so I gotta be the deciding vote. We actually, this is our 5. I think this is our this might be our first 5 from me. All right, we got Push to the Limit. This is the 2-cost tactic, improvise. Choose a weapon or tool asset in your discard pile. Resolve an action ability on that asset, ignoring all costs, including its action cost. After this effect resolves, shuffle the chosen asset into your deck. Playing this card does not provoke attacks of opportunity. So, this is like a fixed knowledge's power. And this one actually does stop all... Like, this one you can do the Sledgehammer. You can do the Sledgehammer, all 3 actions on the upgraded version. Because you ignore all costs with this one, not just its action cost. However, I think that this is just generally a really nice card. And I think this is actually, like, pretty good recursion that comes with it as well. I said this might be my first 5. Is it actually going to be? Do you put Push Fork back into play attached location? No, because I think this will take precedent. My gut is that the Push to the Limit will take precedent on that. I was actually thinking about that today when I was making these slides. .4 from chat. I think I'm going to give it a 4.5. I don't think it's 5. I don't think it's 5 worthy. But I think that I'm going to put it at a 4.5. I think the effect is very good. And this is going to be in your deck from scenario 1 to scenario 8. Which you kind of need to have, like, in my mind, a 4-cost card, like a ranked 4 card to do that. In terms of my rating for how I personally look at things, I like to do that. But this effect is very powerful. And I think, like, besides, I mean, I think this is a higher ceiling than Wolf Mask, but I mean, like, Wolf Mask is just overpower a manual deck, so it should be. Yeah, I think Wilson can run improvised, right? Mark can also use it, yes. So yeah, I think this card is very powerful. 4.5 for me. I think it also might be my personal strongest level 0 card in the cycle. Alright, speaking of, here's Stall for Time. The strongest level 0 card in the cycle. Okay. I don't think this card's bad. I think it's kind of just, like, fine. 1 cost event, Stall for Time, Tactic Trick, Parlay, choose an enemy at location, test brain X, where X is the chosen enemy's fighter, evade value, whichever is lower. If you succeed, exhaust the chosen enemy, but do not disengage from it. If it is non-elite, it does not ready during the next upkeep phase. If you fail, return Stall time for your hand. We love evade effects that freeze. Like, evade effects that freeze. This is like what, going to be, like, this was like the huge thing that I think that evade was missing from the get-go, and like what we saw with disguise in the last set, right? Freeze effects play really well for evading, like very well for evading. But I think this card's kind of just fine, you know? I think this card's kind of just like okay. I think I'm gonna give it a 2.5. I don't think it's bad. I think it has the right homes for sure, but I think like it's not exactly super impressive. So I'm gonna give it a 2.5. And chat, I got great news. You guys also gave it a 2.5. You love to see it. I wouldn't play it in Patrice, though. You have to play it at least once in Patrice because she's in the art. Those are the rules. I don't make them. I just follow them. All right, next one. Wrong place, right time. So I was doing some theory crafting with this card yesterday. 0 cost event, wrong place, right time. It's a spirit and a double. This one does have the wild. So I was wrong, but at the right time. As this cost play, wrong place, right time, spend an action. Move up to 5 damage and or horror from your investigator to assets controlled by investigator's location. For each asset defeated by this effect, draw 1 card. Remove wrong place, right time from the game. So this is like a Tommy card, and then I also can see it being played in Yorick and Hank. Right? So I'm not worried about going Ward and Hank. I'm not worried about either version of Hank. I just think it's incorrect to rush to it. Because if you get trauma, your Hank starts falling apart. I mean, I think the effect... All right, let's see what you guys are giving it. I got your poll results in. Chat's giving it a 3.3. Agnes can take it to put horror on allies with Doom. She could, but I'll be honest, I personally don't think Agnes's kit needs this card. I think her horror kit is pretty solved at this point. And I don't think this is it. Just generally. Like, you definitely could. I think there's, like, you could go hard on some of that stuff. Like, especially you have the upgraded Arcane Initiate. You definitely could. But the question is, would you? This is a tough card to evaluate for sure. How many assets are you wanting to kill with this? So how much damage are you hooking at healing? Let's say, for example, I mean, realistically, you're probably going to only be moving 3, right? Most of the time. You put 2 on your Cherished Keepsake. I mean, if you have 5 damage, you put... Or if you have 4 damage, you put 4 on a Tetsuo. Also, you can put it on other investigators' things. But the problem is, realistically, other investigators don't really want you killing their stuff, right? They need to kill their stuff. Like, unless you're playing, like, Mono Survivor. Does Charlie like this? You're playing this with fewer than 5 tokens to move? What are you doing? But that's the thing, right? Like, with that argument, I don't think you should be playing this card at all then. Because I think hitting 5 is going to be... You're going to be sitting so long, and then on the final turn of the scenario, you're going to be like, I can do it. And then everyone's like, we fucking won already, Joe. We're already fucking through this, you know? So I think realistically, 3 is like where it's going to be sitting most of the time, to be honest. I think I'm going to give this card a 2. I don't think it's good. Like, someone one day in the future can be like, I mean, I actually might even experience it myself. Someone might be like, hey, look at this awesome turn I did where I spent 2 actions to draw 5 cards and heal 5 damage in a horror. But don't ignore the fact that it took me 5 actions to put all my Actually, this card doesn't do anything. It's just bad card draw. Because you have to spend actions to play your soak, and then you heal the damage onto your soak, which is there to take damage for you, and then you just get the actions and your soak back. I think I'd only play this in Tommy, actually. No, you can't. You have to move. You have to put it on a legal target. I think you have to put it on a legal target. I'm like 98% sure of that. The 2% is because there's a screw fell on my head. A screw gun fell on my head in college once. Yeah, I think I'm gonna give this a 2. I don't think it's good. I don't think so. All right. Long shot, baby. This is a great card. Very good card. There's Tetsuo. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, there's Tetsuo. So you're going to spend 2 actions to kill your Tetsuo? As opposed to just, like, running another card and, like, playing the game and killing Tetsuo that way, right? Like, I don't think that's worth it for Tetsuo. Tetsuo will just die normally. You don't need to kill your Tetsuo. You don't need to take your soak for your soak to draw 1 card, right? Let your soak take your soak and then draw, like, a card normally. Like, just take a draw action. I don't think wrong place, right time is worth it. All right, long shot. Practice skill. You can commit long shot to a fight or evasion test against an enemy or location or connecting location. If this test is successful, deal 1 damage to that enemy. Yeah, so I think in Guardians you probably won't play this card that much. I don't think you actually, like, even though we joke about having like 4 vicious blows is really good, I actually don't think, I think like other cards are just better at also putting damage output or giving you other resources. But I do think the effect is very powerful. So does chat. Chat's giving this a 4.8. I don't think I'm going to give this a 5. I think the effect is very good. No, this does not let you attack or evade at a connecting location. Only if someone at a connecting location or by another card effect you're attacking at a connecting location, but then the thing. Yeah, I mean, the fact that it can work for any fight or evade action is very good. Is very good. You know what? This might be worth a 5, now that you think about it a bit more. Is this... So, okay, here's the thing, right? If I'm giving this a 5, do I think this is the best card in the set at level 0? Like, do I think that it's better than Push to the Limit and Wolf Mask? I think it is. Right? I think it is. Because, like, you guys have already given me, like, 100 use cases that actually don't require anything else. Like, it doesn't require, oh, you need the Sledgehammer 4 in your deck to make Push to the Limit do this, right? I'm going to give it a 5. I'm doing it. Long shot. I think it's worth a 5. And we'll see how much that might change into next year. Oh, dude, that's our last Survivor card, too. I just think, like, there's so many examples. Rita, to evade. She now can, like, just, like, you can hold back 2 of these, kill the hoods in 1 action. Yeah, it's a good card. So then of our class cards, the 3 highest rated were Wolf Mask with 4.5, with Push to the Limit with 4.5, and Long Shot with 5. So those, in my ratings, were the top 3 cards of the set. Survivors do be eating well this cycle. They definitely have got some good toys to play with. Poor Bulldog. Hey, we haven't got to the upgraded version yet. No Rod? No, not the level 0 Rod. Not level 0. I like the card, but it's not good enough at level 0 to be on this level. Okay, we have some neutral cards to talk about, though. We have some neutral cards. Eldritch Tongue. 2-cost asset, uses 4 charges. You may play event cards with Parlay from your discard piles if they were in your hand. As additional cost to play the event this way, spend 1 charge from Eldritch Tongue. After that event resolves, remove it from the game. So I think that Eldritch Tongue is in a very nice place because it's really good it's really good at being relevant whenever you draw it. If you draw it early, you play it and then play your events multiple times. If you draw it late, you play all the events that are already in your discard pile, which I think is actually like kind of sick. You're going to need to be aware of your economy if you're playing this card. You're going to want to like put a bit more juice into your economy because you're definitely going to be playing a lot of events. But it also does some fun stuff where it allows you to commit your event cards and then like play them. How does this card work with Beguiled and Power Word? If there are events with Parlay on them, I imagine you can play them, right? All right. Let's see what you all give this. 3.7? Honestly, I think that's pretty fair. I'm going to give it a 3.5, I think. I think this is a really good card. But it counters Beguile? Yeah, I mean, it does remove from the game, but, like, still, you can play it, right? Oh, shit, I put it in the wrong spot. Yeah, I think this is a cool card, and I'm actually, yeah, I do agree with the sentiment I'm seeing in chat, which is that this card allows other people but from Alessandra to play Parlay events, which I think is pretty sick. It's nice that we have that. I do think that Parlay is still a little bit janky, but janky is fun. All right, we got Bide Your Time. This is a 0-cost event. Double. As additional cost to play Bide Your Time, spend an action. During your next turn, you may take 2 additional actions. So, here's the problem with this card. That I was thinking about this card last night when I was lying in bed. You know, had my blanket tucked up, and I was just thinking about Bide Your Time. Because if you... the working theory that as a goon, you're going to do this during downtime because, you know, next turn you might have an enemy. Unless you, like, know what you're doing, like, being able to, like, being able to know, like, a boss is coming or a big enemy. You then just have another turn where no one draws enemies, and you're like, okay, what do I do with my Bide My Time actions, right? And that is going to happen a lot, I think. I feel like that's actually going to be pretty common with Bide Your Time. And yes, you can use it to like tech against certain bosses showing up, but I think honestly just like getting your weapons better is going to be good. Chat's giving it a 2.2. I'm right there with you. I think I'm going to give it a 2. I think I'm going to give this a 2. I don't think Bide Your Time is that interesting to me. Could be neat in rogue decks that care about how many actions you perform in one turn. Yeah, and like, yeah, definitely. Like with Payday and this stuff, that is like some cool stuff that you could take advantage of. I think that all these things, though, are like fringe uses for the card. And most of the time, to me, that then starts going into the combo potential, which is, I think, is the less the power of the card and more the power of the combo, right? I like the design on it, though. And honestly, it might surprise me. Again, part of the reason I do these videos is that so I can look back in a year and be like, wow, look at how wrong I was in certain aspects of this. Or look how absolutely right I was. All right. Well dressed. Our last card of the day, and it is a card we spoiled. Because they saw PBG videos and like, man, these chaps are always so well dressed. I say wearing my Tales from the Cthulhu Mythos shirt. Okay. This card, well-dressed, commits for a wild, practice fortune. While well-dressed is committed to a skill test during a parlay action. It gains wild, wild, wild. So notably, I think this was included to help out the parlay stuff. But can I be honest? I would rather if they just put in fine clothes again. You know? I would, because like all of the cards with parlay are designed like around fine clothes already. But they should definitely have put fine clothes just in this cycle, I think. They should have just done it. I wouldn't have complained. I would have been like, oh yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. I think this card has good tech uses. I think obviously this card is good in parlay decks. I think all of those are obvious statements. That shouldn't be too much of a surprise. I like it against Ishtaka. I like it in I also like it against like Carcosa for the tech in the second scenario. You know what it is. I think that is Jenny. I think we can all agree that that's our good friend Jenny. Yeah. I think this is like kind of like one of those things where you just like, yeah, Poltergeist. Yeah, I think, yeah, Poltergeist is a parlay. So I think in Carcosa, like it's like a better tech card than I think it is an actual like just general card. I think even in parlay decks, you kind of can just do better with other things, oddly enough. I think I'm going to give it my rating that I give for tech cards. I'm going to give it a 2.5. I think the card is just fine. I think the card's just fine. Okay. Well, that is all of the Investigators and Level 0 cards. It only took me 3 hours. Not too bad. Not too bad. Our average ratings with just these cards that we have, I'm giving them a 3.06. So like I said, pretty close to the 3 that I was expecting this to be. I was telling you, top down, we're going to be sitting at 3 for a lot of this. And chat, you guys are at 3.28 before we get to all of the experience cards, which there are a lot less of. So that video is going to be a lot shorter. And that's going to be coming up next week, both on Twitch and on YouTube. But in the meantime, I want to say a huge thank you to everyone who watched this video, whether it was live on Twitch or here on YouTube. But thank you so much for watching. Have a good one. And as always, a GG's.